fate is before you. Choose wisely.
Like I work in finance. God bless, no, it's not by chance. Don't dab me, you're not my man. Don't at me, you're not my man. Mama said don't buy it if you cannot buy it twice. I cop by the tools and I don't pump fake with the price. Always on the grind, I put in work with all my might. I know that he got me, not by sight. I skirt like bandage, I slide out landage. All black like that. Sit 4 days, that's for sure though. Grinding from the grip, no shame, take a photo. Time to take a trip, we head north to the border. Say you filling up, I'm my favorite type of hoarder. I got kids to feed, I got enemies, I got God's gift, so they envy me. Got some friends down Memphis like I'm Aubrey. Got some friends fought for orange like some autumn leaves. I skirt like bandage, I slide out landage. Beat binging, all black like bad men. I skirt like bandage, I slide out landage. Beat binging, all black like bad men. 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 All black like bad men.
Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Watch out for those who surround you, need no funny kind. You can't see what's on my brain, I live inside my mind. Out of space and out of sight, you need me in my line. Need no face, don't need no phonies, no. Need no snakes, no only homies down for show. Go. Get a book and get the front end, we load up and roll. I got kids, yeah, I got staff, I make a little need more. I sell records, you sell packs, not on my level, no. I'm a pop star, I'm a rock star, I'm a winner. Think I'm not hard, you smoke rock hard waste, man, why you dumb? I'm with airline, we on airlines like we on the run. I'm with Tay, girls run up on me, they done. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my.
Ma jolie, oh ma jolie. Yeah. Every time I come around you, baby girl, something doesn't feel the same. You said that I'm changing, but it's really you. I see how you play those games. Wifey type for a maid man. A queen can make moves, a king can't. Snatch you up, now you taking. Gave you bricks, now you building. A wall up. Lately you and I been all off. all love. I don't know what's up with our love. Our love, you forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie, where are you? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something, now you talking. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. You don't turn on me now. You don't get no time for me now, babe. Got him on a rebound, but it's only you that I like, babe. Tout ce que j'ai fait c'était pour toi. Sur le haut parle mais t'écoutes pas. Tu me vois crever mais tu bouges pas. Pourquoi? Whoa, yo, wall up. You can't even get the scars up. For us, I don't know what's up with our love. Our love, you forgetting all about us. Oh. My jolie, oh my jolie, where you been? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. This is called the bluffing, need you something, now you talking. I call you bluff, telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. Yeah, this is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something, now you talking. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Cool it off. I don't know how to cool it off. My jolie, oh my jolie.
I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, he's my mind. All the time, he's my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grabbed my hand, gave me the notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, he's my mind. All the time, he's my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubble still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bad face. Now he's got a hell behind the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I bow down to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, he's my mind. All the time, he's my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. it up. I wake up. Yeah. I wake up, flex, thumb down now. Check, no drip this. Wet. Tell 'em run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch. Tell 'em run it up. I wake up, flex, thumb down now. Check, no drip this. Wet. Tell 'em run it up. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch. Tell 'em run it up. 9 out of 10 roll through my hands, I'm by my lonely. Turned to a savage, now my baby wants to hold me. I love my fans, don't need no friends, I got my homies.
Guys, I want you to check out this young brother on this clip and his comments on marriage. Very profound statement. A lot of wisdom from this young man. I salute him. I'm proud of him. Without further ado, let the clip play.
This is for the guy. Why didn't you marry her? Or why don't you marry her?
Because she didn't earn it. You know, I speak for the men when I say a failed marriage is a loss for men. It drastically changes your life for the worse. And all men really ask is that you're at least worth the risk. You know, there are these BS concepts on this site, like a man will waste years of your life while looking for the girl of his dreams. Like, no. A man will spend years in a relationship waiting for you to become the girl of his dreams because he's already pretty much chosen you for that position. All he wants is for you to unlock that next level of commitment. But that will require humility. That will require you to let go of this take me as I am mentality, because I can tell you, a man that doesn't respect himself will take you as you are. He won't require you to prove yourself. But a man that respects himself, a man that's masculine, a man that has any respect and reverence for the Most High will make you earn the prestigious position of wife. If you haven't earned it, you won't get it.
Like this brother mentioned in the clip, a man who respects himself, a man who knows his value, a man who respects the Most High, it's not going to just sign over his life or give up his life for a woman that just doesn't meet the standard or doesn't live up to those expectations of a wife. So when a lot of people ask questions about men and why men aren't married, why there's 54% of black men that are single and unmarried, I think this gentleman, young man, answers the question. So for you guys, I want you to take this in mind. The Ingram Experience in this channel, we support you guys. Stay strong, stay positive. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe, guys. This channel is about empowering men, but also we support the ladies as well. But I think the men are where we need to put most of the effort in right now. There's enough channels on the internet that cater to women. So guys, enjoy your day.
All right, guys, we're about to get it cracking, and we're going to talk about the importance of self-determination. Self-determination is the power that's given to men to live their lives on their own terms, unapologetically masculine. And when I started this journey about a year ago, I started this journey with the intentions to empower men at their highest level. Not to empower men based on what the world thinks men should have, but to empower men based on what they deserve, based on their intrinsic worth and their intrinsic value. Get your pens and your paper ready. We're going to have a powerful discussion talking about the importance of self-determination and how it impacts the mental health of a man. Let's do it. Bringing it to you live once again from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green, where every day is Father's Day, and where manhood is part of hills and valleys, victories and failures, And whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind. But before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles. All right, guys, we're going to get it cracking. And we're going to talk about the importance of self-determination. Self-determination in the psychology world or the clinical world is the ability of a man to do what's best for him and the right to make choices that are not going to be damaging or deleterious to him financially, socially, or spiritually. And shout out to my man, the Ingram Experience, for that short clip that he did a while ago. And that clip by the Ingram Experience talks about not only the right to self-determination, guys, but also it talks about relationship capitalism, something that all men should strive to have, because we live in a world where, relationship inflation is on an all-time high. Just like there's inflation as it relates to goods and commodities, there's also inflation as it relates to relationships. And I chose to use BGS and also my dear friend, Dr. T.S. Johnson, because some men have taken the black pill, and the black pill is synonymous to saying more or less that men are apathetic or indifferent or things are done. They don't see any benefit of investing in the community or the society because they're very nihilistic. They just see it as done. It's no need to invest because it's broken and damaged, and most men are saying they don't care anymore. Dr. T.S. Johnson is an esteemed scholar that talks about concepts similar to something called the ConcuServe, which basically says that a man's a concubine that's used for sex, but also he's a servant. I came up with a terminology called the commodification of subjugation. And it basically says that men are being subjugated to be used as tools, not to benefit that man, but only to benefit her. And so in a relationship in behavioral psychology, things must be congruent. Congruency means that it benefits him and it benefits her. But to you men that are listening, if you're in a relationship where you seek to only benefit her at your own expense, then that's not a healthy relationship. And you're being a victim, and your right to self-determination is being forfeited. Some of you guys are victims of self-determination because you weren't raised in homes where you had masculine fathers. Some of you guys are victims to the rights of self-determination because you have a very low self-esteem. You don't know what your worth is, therefore you just take anything because some of you still have a schema affliction. Your mind has been impacted by the things of your past. And some of you guys got to deal with it as it relates to group therapy, something called recapitulation or corrective recapitulation, where you got to go back to the past and recapture the thing that held you a slave to your mind. And until you do that, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. So once again, I want you guys to pose the question to yourselves, and I want you to ask yourself the question, what does the right to self-determination mean to me as a man? There was a war cry by the liberal feminist woman. She said, "Am I not a woman?" Where the rhetoric or the sentiment that I say to the men that are listening, the question remains, are you not a man? Have you been conditioned to think that you are less? Have you been conditioned by society and the world to think you don't deserve a valuable woman, especially if you have worked hard? You went to school for years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years with advanced degrees, applying yourself. So the question remains, are you not a man? Because some of you have been convinced that you don't deserve an average woman. Therefore, you settle for anything. You settle for women that got bad attitudes. You settle for women that got multiple kids by multiple men. You settle for women that's had a lot of fun because, you don't think you deserve anything better. Now listen, I'm not knocking a man if you want to marry a woman that got kids. If that's what you want to do and that's what you feel like you deserve and you fell in love with that woman, hey, no power, no harm, no foul. Do what's best for you. But what I'm saying is that some of you brothers deserve better because you put the work in, and many times those relationships that you get in, those women don't even respect you. They just see you as a come up. You're just a rebound. You're a rebound. You're just a rebound. Because for what I've heard, many men say there's no honor in being a stepfather to another man's child, because many times they're going to come last, unless that woman is an exceptional woman that knows how to honor and respect that man. But I chose Dr. T.S. Johnson because Dr. T.S. Johnson is a very ardent scholar. He's a black masculinist, and he believes in the fortification of the male psyche. He believes in the social mobility of the black man. And I decided to join him as our allies, conscious and unconscious, to help him push the agenda forward. Because as he look at things from a scholastic point of view, I look at things from a mental health perspective, and as we both are men of academia and very highly educated men. And then there's the venerable BGSIBMOR, a very eloquent man in scholarship and speech. And as I told you guys, that many times in these male spaces, as men, we may not agree on all things or ideologies. It's okay if we don't agree. But we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. There's a crisis in heteronormative masculinity that needs to be addressed, because the schools are not talking about it. The churches are not talking about it. The women that you are dealing with, they don't even give a damn about it. So I got to talk about it because I've been commissioned by God to talk about it. Because I want to see you men empowered. I'm tired of men being broken mentally and suffering in silence because no one will advocate for them and their mental health. You got a bunch of what I call kumbaya scholars that tell you what you want to hear, and we just want to hold hands and say in the sweet by and by. But I'm going to ask you the question again, am I not a man? And as Bishop Charles E. Williams said, y'all ain't going to talk to me. Am I not a man? Am I not a man that deserves something that's worthy? Am I not a man that deserves a woman that's honorable? Am I not a man that deserves a woman that's going to be loyal and that's going to protect my ego as a man? Am I not a man? Because you will never know what your rights are as a man until you begin to love yourself and until you change that thinking era, that schema affliction that has been imprinted in your mind because you don't think you deserve better. Some of you brothers are professional men. You have advanced degrees. Some of you men make a lot of money. And you still settle for mediocrity because you don't think you can get any better. But our white counterparts, they don't settle for mediocrity. They don't. And other ethnic groups of men don't settle for mediocrity. If a woman want to be on your team, she got to be willing to compete for you and your services as a man. And some don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it because many times they don't really care about you. They just see you as a rebound. They want to see you as somebody. They want to hit that shot, the last shot at the buzzer. So the question remains once again, am I not a man? Do I deserve a woman that's valuable? Do I deserve a woman that's willing to honor me as a man and to respect me as a man? What are you deferring as men as it relates to relationships? What are you giving up in exchange for your sanity as a man? What are you giving up that's caused you to suffer in silence and not get the outcomes that you want as a man? Because manhood is very turbulent. Manhood is not easy. Manhood is a series of hills and valleys, victories and failures. It's hard being a man in America. And it's even harder being a black man. So I'm having these conversations with you, brethren. I'm having these conversations because I want to see your minds calibrated. I want to see that schema broken. I want you men to be the best versions of yourselves. I want you guys to rise to the pinnacle of your success and not be a saboteur of your own ignorance. So the question remains, am I not a man? And are black men shamed into silence for having standards? So I'm going to read some of these comments. And if you guys have not more or less donated, donate to the channel. Hit the like button. Donate to the channel. hit the like button, hit all notifications. If you don't have anything to share monetarily, I'm grateful. You guys did an awesome job last night as I had the talented and the very venerable Shalakemia Moffat. But if you don't have any monetary things to share, just share the content. That's enough for me. Because I want to see the brothers that are listening rise up to the pinnacle of your success. I'm going to read through some of these comments in a minute because it's time for men to have a revolution in their heart and their minds and their spirits, because it's time for men to have the right to self-determination. Because as the feminists say, am I not a woman? Then the question that I say to you men that are listening, am I not a man? Because see, they don't want you to know what your worth is, man. They don't want you to know. The only thing I'm saying, if a woman wants you to give you that dubious distinction of being a wife, she got to be willing to compete. She got to come to the table willing to serve you as a man. If she thinks that cooking you a meal makes her a slave, then she's not worthy to be your wife. If she's not willing to serve you as a man, she's not willing to be your wife, because in other cultures, that's what they do. They serve their men. And I'm not talking about dusty men. I'm not talking about worthless men. I'm not talking about bums that sit on their behinds. They don't have a vision. They don't have a mission. They don't have a plan. But I'm talking about well-established men, men that have worked hard, that went to school. They've applied themselves. They're good brothers. Those are the men that I'm talking about, not these dusty guys that are goofy. They sag. They don't have a plan. They're ignorant. They just want to sit on the couch and damn eat Cheetos and play video games. I'm not talking about those men. I'm not talking about mama boys. But I'm talking about worthy, eloquent, educated black men. Because there's a lot of dichotomous thinking with the modern man, because he doesn't feel like he deserves anything. He settles for less. And like my brother Al Green said, many eat out of the trash can because they don't know what their worth is. And so I do these shows, guys, because kosher means to be fit and proper. And I want you guys to get the best outcomes out of your life, because life is not promised and tomorrow is not promised as well. As I told you guys, I lost my sister recently. And her and I fought from time to time, but I loved my sister. That's why I fought so hard for her, because she's similar to me, strong personalities. I stand firm in my convictions as a man. I'm not a cream puff. I'm not a tap dancer. I'm not a bootlicker. I stand firm in my convictions as a man. And some of you guys are not used to strong men standing firm in their convictions. As I told you guys in the past, there's not a man on this planet that I deem better than me, myself. I respect all men, but I bow to none. There's not a man on this planet that I deem better than me. But whether you're 2 feet tall or 10 feet tall, I'm going to respect you as a man, because that's what good men do. But back to point, as it relates to the mental health of a man, a lot of you brothers are suffering in silence. A lot of you brothers are selling for mediocrity. A lot of you brothers don't know what your worth is, because, as I said last night, there's a king inside of you that's willing and waiting to be released. There's a king inside of you that's waiting to be set on his throne and to more or less affirm his dominion as a man. And as my job as a clinical therapist is to break that schema affliction that you're dealing with, because that schema is a fixation in your head that's told you that you don't deserve anything and that you should just settle for being mediocre. And as Bishop Charles E. Williams said back in the 90s, y'all ain't gonna talk to me. So, I'm passionate about the liberation of the American man, but more specifically, the black man in America, the mule of society. The first one that was killed in the Revolutionary War. Shout out to Crispus Attucks, the black Indian. To the Buffalo Soldiers that fought valiantly in this country. To the brothers that gave their life in World War I, since this is Black History Month, and World War II, and also the brothers that died in Vietnam. To the brothers that are the curators or the curators of the arts and the science and music and dance and swag. There's a king inside of you, distinguished black man. But you don't know what lies within, and the world don't want you to know. That's why they want to give you less. They don't want you to know what your inherent worth is. That's why they want you to settle for mediocrity. But like Dr. King said, I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. And there's a promised land that's waiting for you, men, if you once learn to love yourself. If you can't find your uncovered gem here in America, and they're hard to find, then start working on yourself, working on your mind, changing how you see the world. And if you don't have a passport, get you one, if that's what you want to do. But if you want to wait in America to find your wife, do what's best for you. I have no dog in the fight, but I want to give you as many alternatives as you deserve to get the best outcomes that you want. Because life and tomorrow is not promised to no man. Eventually, you will go by the way of the grave. And one of the saddest things that can happen to a man is when a man is on his deathbed and he's looking over his life and he's looking through the kaleidoscope of time and he's saying to himself, I did not live my life on purpose. I did not live my life based on my own convictions as a man. I lived my life doing what others told me to do. And I existed, but I never lived. And that's a bad thing when a man can exist and he's not living on his purpose, because I told you in the past, your first purpose is to serve the Creator, whatever Creator you believe in. I believe in the God of the Bible, Elohim, Yahweh, the God of the Israelites, the God of the Hebrews. That's the one that I believe in because he's kosher, he's fit and proper. But whatever God you believe in, the first thing you got to serve the eternal one. The next thing you got to focus on is your purpose. And then if you get a good woman that's willing to come into your kingdom to help you build and to help you meet your vision on earth, then bring her into your kingdom. But the question remains, is she fit and proper? Is she kosher in heart, mind, and spirit? Because if she's not kosher in heart, mind, and spirit, she's not worthy of the honor of being the wife. Like they used to say back in the past, what shall I render unto God for all he's done for me? I ask the question, what shall she render unto you as a noble black man? Because your worth is unmeasurable if you're putting in the work. So once again, guys, there's 41 people that are watching. Get the likes up, share the content. If you have not donated, donate to the channel because I got some fire for your mind. Fire
for your mind. The kosher.
Because it's time to see black men liberated. It's time to see American men liberated, black men, and white men, Asian men, Latin men. It's time to see you men liberated, but mostly the black man, because the black man is the mule of society. He's been broken mentally from the residual effects of Jim Crow racism. He's been broken through the systematic chains of oppression. But still, he rises to the occasions in the arts, the science, literature, and also politics and also sports. What shall I render unto the black man, the mule of society? So I'm going to do some of these comments, and I need you guys to get the likes up and share the content. If you don't have anything to add monetarily, please share the content. And once again, guys, thank you for everything that you guys have done. You guys have been awesome. You guys came through last night. I'm honored that you guys support the content because as a licensed therapist, I'm different, I'm rare, but I'm masculine. And I love being a masculine therapist. I love to see men empowered because I'm a firm believer that if we empower the man, then the man will turn around and empower his woman. I believe when you fully empower your men, then your men will be empowered to get quality women. Because see, watch this, men. You are the gatekeepers to relationships. You determine if she's wife ready or wife worthy. But some of you men don't know what masculinity look like. I would say that many of you are not even ready for marriage because you don't know how much power that you have. You're going to be giving your power away to a woman that don't respect you as a man. And people get mad at me for telling you what your worth is because they really don't respect you as men. So I'm going to read through some of these comments. Shout out to Elisa Dela Rosario. How you doing, sweetie? She said, I've learned a lot from Dr. T.S. Johnson. Yes, he's a good brother. I respect Dr. T.S. Johnson 100%. He talks about some of the struggles that he went through as a man. He talks about the rose-colored glasses that a lot of you men have been dealing with as well. Some of you men have rose-colored glasses on. You still believe in that dopamine. You guys are still thinking that she's going to love you and love you for who you are. And I'm not saying there are not women out here that will do that. There are some good sisters that are uncovered gems. There are some good women that are willing and ready to be wiped up. There are some good sisters. So shout out to the good sisters. Shout out to the good black women and the good American women, white, black, Hispanic, or indifferent, that are waiting for their king. They're ready and waiting to serve. But men are petrified because they don't know what your intentions are. They don't know if you're a chameleon. They don't know if you're honorable. Some feel that you're just waiting to hit a shot at the buzzer because the clock is ticking. Some of the men are saying, when I talk to them in private, she just want to get married because she's about to hit the wall. So men don't know if you're genuine. Men don't know if you are worthy enough. And that's why men are beginning to say, I want a woman that's willing to come into my kingdom and a woman that's willing to serve. So we're going to talk about it, guys, in a minute. We're going to talk about it in a minute because it's very important. Now, see, we got a troll, and I'm about to put this troll to sleep because we're not going to tolerate trolls in these chats. If you don't believe in the mission of male empowerment, get your goofy behind off my platform. I don't go on other people's platform telling them how to think. So I'm not going to allow goofballs to come into my platform and tell me how to think as a black man. I know what I'm doing. I'm more intelligent than this clown that came in my chat a minute ago. So if you don't believe in what black men are trying to do, if you still dealing with struggles in your mind, either you give me a consultation and we can sit down and you pay me for it, or get your goofy behind off my platform. Shout out to the Anti-Socialite Podcast. How you doing, dear?
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Thank you for all that you do.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Streets, and you're doing a great job. But once again, guys, anytime black men talk about male empowerment, you're going to always find agitators that come into men's spaces. And I had to block a troll a minute ago trying to tell men how to think because they don't like what we're talking about. Not going to have that. If you want to have a civil conversation and you got questions with me, you're going to pay me for it. But you're not going to come on my platform being goofy. You're going to respect this platform or you're going to get this work. If you don't believe in what I believe, then fine, go somewhere else. But anytime black men start talking about male empowerment, you got these goofballs coming in talking about black men are the most conquered. But yet these same women talking about black men are the most conquered are the same ones that are agents, provocateurs of white supremacy. You join a line with white supremacy to suppress the black men that you say that you love. As I said before, in the past, black men and black women both were mules of society. We both were mules of society broken under Jim Crow racism. When you look at everything that black men have done, you got fools like this idiot that came in a minute ago saying that we are conquered. Every man has been conquered by white men, Asian, Indians, or whatever. What's your point? We are conquered. But that's what guys, I told you about some of these women. They don't love you. They want to complain. They don't self-introspect. They're broken women. They don't want to listen. And so they come up on your platform with this nebulous concept thinking that black people are one. Black men and black women were never one. We were forced into oneness due to slavery. But prior to coming to America, we were from different tribes in Africa and different countries. There was inter-tribal racism and intra-tribal racism. We were never one as a people, but we became one. So I'm not going to tolerate goofballs coming on my platform talking about that silliness. If you want to listen to Cynthia G and her shenanigans, go listen to her. But you're not coming on my platform running your mouth, popping your gums. If you want to have a coaching conversation and we be respectful, that's fine. But you're not going to come on my platform disrespecting my platform, talking about rhetoric that you don't know what you're talking about because you've been broken by a man. You know, this overgeneralization of black men saying all black men are not the same. And all black men are not predators as it relates to hurting black women. There's some good, noble brothers. I would say many brothers are invisible. So we got to go away with that. Shout out to my man, Barry Hamilton. Looking good, brother. They will be handling expedition. Oh, yeah, she already got the boot. She got this 15 up her behind, whoever it was. I'm not going to tolerate no goofiness. I don't tolerate that. You can get this work If you come on my platform, think you can be talking stupid. I don't tolerate disrespect of black men. Charlotte, with moments with Mickey Red, teach Mr. Coach. I love when black men share knowledge. Much respect. How you doing, sweetie? It's been a minute. I haven't seen you in a while. But I'm glad that you are here. And you're right, calculated risk. You got to put yourself first. You have to put yourself first as a man. Because if you don't put yourself first, then you won't be first. You have to put yourself first. I'll never forget when I was going to the distinguished UNC Chapel Hill. One of my professors told me, she said that, you are rare because she said you are very masculine. She said a lot of the therapists are either women or they're effeminate. So I want you guys to realize what you have. I take a risk doing this. But I do it because I've been commissioned by God to do it. I'm the voice crying out in the wilderness to see black men liberated. And other men like Dr. T.S. Johnson and BGSIBMOR and a lot of other brothers. And as I said, we don't agree on all things or ideologies. We don't, and we won't. But I do respect those brothers. We agree on a lot more than we disagree on. And that's all that matters to me. There are many men in these spaces that I don't agree with 100%. But we do have commonalities as men. It's a struggle of being black men in America. And BGSIBMOR did a masterful job because IBMOR stands for Introspective Black Men of Reform. A lot of black men are becoming introspective black men of reform because they're trying to know what their worth is as a man. Shout out to the Green Beret Media. He said that, thank you, TKC. There are not many masculine therapists, and if they have any masculine, they are feminists in thought. Yes, sir, they are. Shout out to my man, Top Gun, for the dislodging of that troll. Yeah, she had to get that.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? My mission,
what I stand for, what these men stand for, exit left or exit right. You don't have to be on the platform. But you got these goofy women that think they can come in the male space trying to tell men how to think. Not going to work, boo. I don't tolerate disrespect. And all this old tired talk, the black man is defeated. But yet you are one of the ones that's aiding in white supremacy to help defeat him. You want black men to give you something when you give him nothing in return. Some of these chicks are they're nowhere near as great as the women of yesterday. They're nowhere near as great as their mothers and their grandmothers. They don't even touch the women of the past. Having accomplished nothing, don't want to serve a man, but think your ass deserves something just for the sake of having a vagina. Don't work that way, boo. Because there are women in other countries that are willing to serve a man and that's willing to give that man what he deserves. But you want to come on somebody's platform talking about defeated. And your goofy behind has been an agent in helping black men be defeated. Don't want to serve. But when other women come willing to serve their men in the beauty of righteousness, then you got a problem with it. And then got a nerve to talking about your mama is black. But guess what? Your dad is black. Because there is no race without the seed of the black man. And I stand firm on that. Shout out to Clement Gray. I believe that neither husband or wife comes into a marriage fully prepared to be what the Bible teaches them or where he should be toward problems. No one stayed to preserve what marriage is. I agree, brother. I agree with you 100%. No doubt. Shout out to KP5. Keep going, coach. I'm waiting on that book. No doubt, brother. Much love and respect. And you're right, KC5, always trying to mama some damn body. You're right. Always woman-splaining. Always talking down to men, telling them what they should do. And in other cultures, you wouldn't even be tolerated to run your mouth or to bump your gums. You will be expeditiously dealt with. That's why I had to kick you out of this group. Because you're not going to come into a male space telling us how to think. You have had the last 30 years on how to talk and to think. The black man has been eviscerated in the public media. He's been eviscerated since he come into this on the slave ship. And now all of a sudden you want to tell black men how they should speak and how they should conduct themselves when you are an agent of white supremacy? Let them cast them up top, say F out of here. Shout out to the Ingram experience, no doubt. Salute to everyone in the chat. Shout out, brother Ingram. I want you to pop on at some point, but we're gonna give you some fire for your mind. Because it's time
fire
for the black men in America to
for
rise
your
and stand us up
mind.
like we did back in the 90s.
The kosher.
I remember a time when men had standards. They didn't tolerate anything. They stood for something. When that woman came into that relationship, she came in willing to serve that man because she knew that man had something worthy of. And that's why I'm so passionate about inspiring brothers to get the best that they deserve. So the question remains, did the lack of autonomy lead to rage? Did the lack of self-determination lead to rage? And I would say yes. The lack of self-determination has led many men to rage. They become enraged because they are suffering in silence. And I said before in the past that a broken man is a hopeless man. And a hopeless man is a very dangerous man because he doesn't have the right to freedom or the right to autonomy to be the best version of himself. And then also the next question would be is that why are modern black men expected to settle? How many of you men have been expected just to settle for anything? If you've been expected to settle for anything to the 56 or the 60 that are watching, I want you to hit 1. Because some of you men have been expected just to settle for anything. You have been expected to settle for anything. Shout out to Nice Sometimes, a new subscriber. Thank you, brother. Shout out to you. Right. So far, the 6 people, you guys are all saying the same thing. You have been expected just to settle for anything. And settling does not improve your mental health as a man. And sometimes that social conditioning, guys, has more or less taught you that you are not worthy of anything noble and honorable. That's what negative social conditioning does. It teaches you that you are not worthy of anything. Shout out to my man Roshak for the $2 super sticker. Thank you, brother. Support your PhD for speaking your project. Thank you, brother. Thank you 100%. Shout out to my man Nice Sometimes for the $20 super sticker. He said, love my brother, no doubt. Much love to you.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
I appreciate that, brother.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Because it's time for black men in America to be liberated. And once again, black men are not monolithic. We don't believe in all things. We weren't monolithic when we came on the slave ship. We were from different tribes in Africa. We were from different countries in Africa. But intra-tribal warfare, meaning within, and inter-tribal warfare, meaning between, led us up to our demise. But we were never one before we came to America. We were never a monolith. So when people paint black men with this broad stroke, say all black men are not the same. I don't think like a lot of black men. I might be black in hue, but I don't think like a lot of men. Because Tavis Smiley said your skin folk are not your kinfolk. And this Bishop Charles E. Williams said, y'all ain't gonna talk to me. So don't ever get caught up in this goofy notion that just because you're black, we're one. We're not one. Because I don't believe in some of the things that some of these fools believe in. I believe in masculinity. I believe in the liberation of black men, and all men for that matter. I believe white men should be liberated too. The ones that are struggling in this caste system called radical feminism. I think all men should be liberated. And while some of them are the agents to play the role in the current demise because they created the policies, because black men didn't create policies to oppress our women. It was a percentage of white men that created those policies. Black men didn't create nothing. And people want to accuse black men of domestic issues. Domestic issues are not endemic to just black men. It's a byproduct of all ethnic groups. So the question remains, why should you have standards? Because standards make you get in where you can fit in. Standards make you set the bar high. Men got to start raising their standards again. But over time, because of pressure and shame, which is a form of manipulation, men have begun to lower their standards. They just accept anything. They don't demand anything. You can't get into Duke University with bad grades. You can't get into UNC Chapel Hill with bad grades. You can't get into Harvard or Princeton with bad grades. You can't get a house with bad credit. You can't get a car with bad credit. So if the financial institutions and the universities have standards, why can't you have standards as black men? That's the question. Why can't you have standards? Why can't you have the right to self-determination to live your life on your own terms, free and apologetically, and also masculine? Because many don't want you to know what your worth is as a man. Many want to get into your inner sanctum and tell you how you should think as a man. And just like the woman said in the past, am I not a woman or a black woman, then am I not a black man? We're going to go and more or less explore this show that I did with Dr. T.S. Johnson. It talks about the right to self-determination. And more or less it was talking about, are black men the lords of the rings? And I would say that yes, black men are the lords of the rings when they know what their worth is. This was a very good show that I did about 5 months ago. So we're going to play it and we're going to critique it and break it down.
But I actually looked twice at her for a moment, and it wasn't so much about I want to go get with her, but I just noticed kind of
energy.
The energy. It was
the energy.
It was like a breath of fresh air, just being around that kind of femininity, and it made her prettier than she actually was. You know what I mean? And just on a physical level.
Exactly. When you step off that plane in Brazil, it hits you in the face. And we literally have to explain this to guys, because a lot of them don't understand it. We have a process where we introduce you to being around those type of women, because left uncontrolled and unchecked, a lot of men lose it because they don't believe it. They're in denial about a lot of things. Seven's laughing, but he knows, he's seen it. And
I've seen it.
Yeah, and everything that they try to use to deter you, oh, they're not black. Oh, yes, they are.
They are black.
Oh, they're not feminine. Oh, yes, they are.
Right.
But they don't know how to cook. Look, they would rather go to the supermarket and cook than you take them out. And they are very submissive.
Right.
They are very accommodating. And they know that you being in their environment is like them hitting the lottery. Now, of course, they're going to look at you for resources. What woman isn't? But at the same time, they're looking to be married. Back to your point, you're marrying the families. A lot of Brazilians, they're big on family. They interact with family.
And man, those women are big on family because they've been raised in environments where the men are very masculine. The men are very patriarchal, and I believe in kosher patriarchy. Shout out to JR from the Lapeef Network. And I was on his platform last night, and I will post a portion of that show at some point. Shout out to him. And he asked the question, is a patriarchy necessary in 2022? And I would say yes, if it's kosher, fit, and proper. We're not talking about abuse, but we're talking about kosher patriarchy. Patriarchy that's fair. Patriarchy that's fit and proper. Men that's going to love their women, but at the same time, hold their women accountable for bad behavior. You got women now that are not accountable. They got horrible behavior. The men don't check them for bad behavior. Like I had to check that troll because her mouth got slick. And I'm not going to tolerate disrespect on a male's platform. It ain't going to work. It'll be a cold day in hell. You think you're going to come on my platform bumping your gums. Don't work like that on my platform. I'm a man. I'm a masculine man. I'm very fair and I'm very loving, but I don't tolerate disrespect from men or women. Because men or women can get this work if they try with me. I'm 6'5", 280 pounds, 6'6" with shoes on. Try me if you want to, you can get this work. Win, lose, or draw. Because I'm a man before I'm a therapist. I'm a black man before I'm a therapist. Some people get it twisted. They think because I'm an educated man, I got to always talk nice and kind. No, I'm a man first. And I become a therapist after being a man. Don't ever get it twisted. My profession does not supersede my masculinity as a man. And that's what people don't understand. They say, well, you're a therapist. Yes, I'm a therapist, and a damn good one. But my masculinity does not supersede my profession. I'm a man before my profession.
When you marry them, you marry their family, and they want to welcome you, and they welcome the family. And it can be overwhelming. Myself, I came from a big family. My mother and my father had 5 siblings, actually 6 siblings on each side. And my parents were together for 51 years.
And you're right,
Should
brother.
marriage equal more,
Hold tight.
or should marriage be less?
I pressed that button by mistake. Hold tight, guys. Hold tight. But you are right, brother. I can't think of your name. You're right, Black Perfection. You're right.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
I should just replacing them with black women from other countries. Dating and marrying them is a risk and not worth taking. And sadly, many men are saying that. Many men are beginning to say that, not because they don't want to deal with black women in America,
to listen faster.
but they're saying that, you gotta go do too much just to get to them. So
all of that, but when it came,
a lot of brothers are saying, I gotta do what's best for me, and that's the right to self-determination, to live your life unapologetically masculine. The right to get the women that you feel like fit or make your program or your standards, because some of these women say they believe in God, they believe in the Most High, Yahweh, or Jesus, but they don't even follow the commandments of God. Does not the gospel say that the woman was made for man, that she is the glory of man, that she was made to help man meet his vision in the earth? I'm not talking about men abusing power. I'm not talking about men just because they're the men, they're going to abuse power. But anytime men talk about a woman following his program, they always think the worst. But many men are in relationships where they are in abusive relationships. The women are verbally abusive. They tell them that you're a loser, that you're not worth a damn. They mentally abuse their men. They ignore them. They don't give them sex. That's abuse. They talk and text their exes. That's abuse. And some of you poor men tolerate it because some of you were not raised by masculine men. You don't do things based on principles. You do things based on how you feel. Because your mom said, give her some flowers and some candy after she disrespected you as a man. But I'm here to serve notice on tonight. In other cultures, they don't tolerate that kind of disrespect because there's a penalty for being disrespectful. And I don't agree with sometimes the measure of the penalty. But I'm telling you firsthand, when I was in Brazil and other cultures, they don't tolerate disrespect. Keep listening.
Asking for a meal. When it came to me asking for a clean home, now all of a sudden,
Actually cheating because she's depriving you based on the tenets of theology, what the Bible called the due benevolence. The due benevolence, actually those things which are good. So in my mind, if a woman is denying you her body because she signed up for the contract, you got to give her an admonition to step it up and get it together. Oh. If not, in my mind, if she's denying you her body, you have a right to either divorce her or do what you need to do until you can move on. Because the gospel say the only time a woman should deny her husband sex is when she's fasting and praying. That's the only time.
Right.
Well, after that, the gospel said, agreed on it. And you both agreed on it. Right.
Agreed on it.
Yes, sir. Right. And you both come back together so that the devil won't come into it. So a lot of American women are leading their men astray if that man decides to go out and step out because she's not fulfilling her duty. And I'm gonna tell men to the ones who are listening, you are a fool if you keep contributing to a woman that's not giving you sex. I don't blame her. I blame you. You need to start developing an exit strategy.
Well,
right, go ahead.
Here's the thing, though. There's a new religion that's at play, and it actually supersedes and undergirds most religious traditions in the West.
Right.
And if it hasn't hit your religion, just wait. It's coming, and it's called feminism.
Right.
Kevin Samuels beautifully dealt with last year when he talked about the way feminism, kind of infiltrated the Christian church.
Right.
But, it's
well, Alicia, it hurts to hear that, sweetie. But it's not because the men don't want sisters here in America. They do. They do. But guess what? Just like the woman in the 90s wrote the book Waiting to Exhale, Terry McMillan, there are a lot of black men and white men and men of all ethnic groups that are waiting to exhale. They are waiting to exhale, Alicia Del Rosario, from a time when they can get that feminine oscillator. They're waiting to exhale from a woman that can give them peace. They're waiting to exhale from a woman that's going to follow their program. They're waiting to exhale from a woman that's going to honor them and serve them as God intended her to do. They're waiting, Alicia. And what a lot of men is saying, I don't have that much time. So either she can get in where she fit in or she can get out. And I'll go find me a woman that's willing to meet my standards as a man. Afro-Latin women, morenas. Women from the continent of Africa, because there was a time when they said, well, you're dealing with, white women. Well, men say, okay, fine. You still complaining we're dealing with black women from other countries now. And even though there's a small percentage of men that have passports, a lot of men they're checked out. I told you guys in the past that needs drive behaviors. William Glasser talked about that. Dr. William Glasser talked about it. And William Glasser also was an advocate to the right to self-determination. Glasser said, as I said before in the passage, there are 5 steps that more or less play a role in the choices that men and women do. He called it choice theory. Needs drive behaviors. I want you guys to write that down on the tablets of your hearts and your mind, but also on a piece of paper. Needs drive behaviors. If you're not getting your needs met, then guess what? You're going to start having behaviors, good or bad. The need for power can drive behaviors, good or bad. The need for freedom can drive behaviors, good or bad. That's why you got groups like SYSBM. That's why you got introspective black men of reform. That's why you got MGTOW. That's why you got these movements. Not because these men want to be that way, but they're tired. So it would be remiss of me as a therapist is to go along to get along while black men and all men suffer in silence. That goes against the code of ethics. As a clinical social worker or a clinical therapist, it goes against the code of ethics. The desire to have fun, the desire to belong, but also the desire to survive. And a lot of brothers are not surviving because they've been beaten down and browbeaten by a system that seeks to subvert them not only for being men, but watch this, a system that seeks to subvert them by more or less not holding their counterparts accountable. You can't talk about equality when you want equality of opportunity, but you don't want equality of outcomes. If you're equal to a man, then you also got to be a fellowship of the suffering of a man as well. Men in America want good sisters, but they're saying, I got to go do so much to get to a good one, the uncovered gems, the remnant, the ones that some of the women call mammies and pick-me's. Because to the good sisters that are trying to do the right thing, they shame the good sisters. The good sisters that speak up and say, listen, sisters, we got to get ourselves together so we can build the black community, the black families, they shame them. But you want to give brothers a bad deal. You say that cooking a man a meal makes you a slave. And the thing I never understood is that if you're a single woman, unless you're blowing money, if you got kids, you're going to cook anyway. So once again, what are you willing to render unto a good, noble, honorable man? Not a bad man, not a social derelict, not a bum, not a homosexual, not a goofy dude, not somebody sitting on his ass, playing PlayStation or eating Cheetos, or drinking Coke or drinking Boom Fond or drinking 40s, not a bum, not a mama's boy. But I'm talking about an average to above average to a superior, a good man, a great man, a superior man. Because many men feel invisible.
Happening with brothers who are practicing Yoruba and Ifa, it's happening with Muslims. It's happening in different ways and to different degrees. But here's the thing. When you made a statement a moment ago that she is not following, what she's supposed to be, actually she is, according to the new religion. And the religion is that women can do whatever they want, whenever they feel like, and you need to accept it. And the degree to which you are not a constructive, positive, supportive male is the degree to which you will not allow her to do this. Now, I'll give you an example. It can be in terms of sex. Try sitting down, whether it's the Quran or whether it's the Bible, and you're trying to walk her into why she should give you her body. Watch how that discussion goes if she doesn't want to. That's the first thing. But we can apply it to other areas. I had a situation where I was in graduate school. I literally was working 4 jobs, one of which was full-time while going to school full-time. She was out of work. So when I left at 7 in the morning one morning, the house was a mess. When I got home at 10 o'clock at night, the house was a mess. Of course, there was no food. And when I said, what's going on? Wait a minute. I'm a woman. I'm not a servant.
And you're right, KPC5. You're correct. Facts, Coach. I'm a believer as well. And I told my friend, the man told me his wife doesn't give him any. And I said, what if you remove your providence? And he didn't want to talk anymore. And you're right. He don't want to talk because he's a simp. He's an unconscious simp. Because what he's doing, he's supplementing irrational male behavior or supplementing irrational male principles. Because rational men, not males, don't allow a woman not to add something to the relationship. Your providence is an act of service. There are 5 love languages, guys. There are 5 love languages. Acts of service is a love language. Touch is a love language. Gifts are love languages. And when you men give your woman sometimes gifts and she's not giving you anything in return, that's not a healthy relationship. Because in a healthy relationship, guess what? He's going to benefit and she's going to benefit. In behavioral psychology, we call it congruence or homeostasis, where the woman benefits and the man benefits. But if you're in a relationship when you're giving, she's just receiving, guess what? She's not respecting you. She sees you as a sucker. And I told you guys in the past, she only respects power and strength. A woman is designed to look up to you. That's why they like tall men. They're designed, they don't even know it. They're designed to look up to you. She wants somebody that's better than her. She wants a man to validate her. But if you're on your knees being goofy, if you're on your knees, she's not giving you what's yours. According to the gospel, it's to do benevolence. That's why you gotta eventually get rid of her if she's not willing to change. You separate from her. But I'm a firm believer the way you start out is the way you gotta hold out. If you start a relationship off being goofy and not setting standards, guess what? She's gonna expect that. So guess what? It's gonna be harder to reprogram an old mule. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. And some of these women are set in their ways. It's not even worth talking to them. Some say just keep talking and working. No, you're gonna damn keep talking. At a certain age, you ain't got time to talk. Either you're gonna do it or you can go. Because your time is important, man. At some point, you're going to expire. Like my sister expired last week. Bless her heart. Now she's on the other side of eternity. You're going to expire at some point. And I serve you notice on today, if you don't set standards for what you believe in, you're going to be a victim of your own ignorance. That's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I want to see men be successful. I want to go to some weddings where I see smiles on their faces. Because of the same women that are advocating for marriage, they're not advocating for the laws to be changed. Some of you women that want to get men to marry you, damn it, start advocating to tell them to change the laws. Start telling them to change the laws to hurt men. Until you advocate for them to change the laws, don't damn tell me nothing about no marriage or no black community. Why would I tell men to commit financial suicide? Why would I tell men to marry women that aren't even wife ready? And some of you men are not even husband ready because you don't even know how to lead. Why would I tell people to believe in the nebulous concept of black love when you're not advocating for black men, when you're not advocating for the laws to be changed that impact us and hurt us as men? That's not the right to self-determination. That's mental abuse and mental sabotage. And it would be remiss of me, being a licensed professional, to tell a brother to get into a relationship that's not going to give him the best outcomes. I believe in Glass's 5 principles of choice: power, fun, freedom, belonging, and survival. If he's not getting his needs met until the laws change, then I say continue to work on you. Continue to stack your money. Because a lot of folks are caught up in this nebulous concept called love. You should never marry a woman based on the feeling of love. Just like she loved you, she gonna love many after you. But you should marry a woman based on honor and respect. If she's willing to control her feelings, then you should love her by giving her that eros love. But until a woman is mature enough to control her feelings, she's not worthy, in my opinion, to be a wife. Because part of being a wife is the ability to master your feelings and your emotions. If you can't master your feelings and emotions, how in the hell can you be a man's wife? You can't. Because as soon as you get in your feelings, you're going to be ready to divorce him. As soon as you get in your feelings, you're going to be ready to call the cops. As soon as you get in your feelings, you're going to be an agent provocateur of white supremacy. When you get in your feelings, you're going to try to text your ex. When you get in your feelings, you're not going to give him any sex. When you get in your feelings, and like Bishop Charles E. Williams said, y'all ain't going to talk to me.
I'm not a slave. Now, I didn't marry a rampant feminist. I married a woman who did not seem anything like that. But when pressed into a corner, those feminist ideas that are so popularly extended in popular culture came right out, which meant that as long as I provided a roof, shelter, clothing, all these other kind of things, trips, bills were paid, she could receive all of that. But when it came to me asking for a meal, when it came to me asking for a clean home, now all of a sudden I'm a woman and I shouldn't have to be a slave.
And we're talking about basic stuff, guys. We're not talking about nothing extraneous. Like Alan Addison said, we're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about a clean house and a meal, man. We ain't talking about the Taj Mahal. We're not talking about nothing, superfluous. We're just talking about a clean house and a meal, something that's basic, something that other women love to do. Shout out to my man Guapo. His wife-to-be is from Colombia. Shout out to my man Richie Mack. He's in Thailand with a wife. Both of those brothers married sisters in the beginning. They gave black women the right to first refusal. But they all caught hell, more or less. Not to quote them wrong. Jousting for power in the relationship. Not wanting to listen. But she still expect you to be a provider and protect. She still expect your goofy behind to cut grass and change oil and then go and put your life on the line for somebody to break in. But she don't want to cook you a meal? And you still with her? Where there are women from other countries that would love to serve you as a man? And some of you got a nerve to say and get mad at black men for exercising their alternatives or their options? Or American men for that issue, for that matter? Come on, man. It doesn't even make sense. Men should be able to live their lives unapologetically and live their lives on their own terms. Because it would be remiss of me, once again, to support a system, and shout out to Dr. Helen Smith and Susan Vanker for more or less understanding why men are checking out. Dr. Helen Smith wrote a book called Men on Strike. She was a first wave feminist. And she even said there's no benefit. She's a professional. And she's been met with ridicule. Anytime black folks or men or any person talk about rationality, their rationality is met with ridicule.
See, this is the dynamic that feminism allows them. It allows them to have a cherry-picked traditionalism that you yourself have very little in response to argue back with once you're in the marriage itself. And if you push too far and she initiates a divorce, which is fine as long as you're ready for that. And many of us aren't ready for that emotionally or financially.
This effect of feminism on everything in the West is why the passport bros, if they're going to wife someone up, they need to stay in that other country. Because as soon as you bring a woman here, it won't be long before that feminism will be right in your house. I was watching Uncle D, Dennis Sperling, and he was talking about with his fiance how he's not allowing her to have certain kinds of associations, and the reason is because he sees how some of these other folks are talking, and he knows what's going to happen. He knows they're going to start filling her head with X, Y, and Z, and you have to be. Part of marriage, part of a relationship is the man is actually supposed to be protecting the woman from the effects of society. So from not just physically, but is supposed to be protecting her. And unfortunately, the way we have it set up now is it seemed that we're doing them harm by trying to protect them from stuff that we know that is going to likely harm them. But not only harm them, it's going to probably destroy our relationship. It's an impossible situation. Like, what do you do?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what.
Into this point that Dr. T. Hassan Johnson was saying earlier about, not wanting to, wait, see your kid every other week. I'm going to tell you in a very real way. And maybe this is going to seem, shout
out to my man. I Can't think of his name. Hold tight. Greg for the $5 super sticker.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
But it serves the purpose as it relates to the right to self-determination. And as a licensed therapist, I'm determined to make sure you brothers are liberated before you.
Especially if you have a son, you need to do whatever you have to do and struggle it out, because you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen, and you know how devastating.
Let me say this. I love Dr. Thunder, and I agree with him 100% in a lot of areas. I don't necessarily agree that bringing her back to America is 100% that she's going to change. He is correct. You are taking a risk bringing her back to America. But I'm not going to say that bringing a woman back to America means that she's going to about face and become an ardent feminist. I don't necessarily believe that. It depends on the woman. It depends on her culture. It depends on if she's first generation, second generation, or third generation. It depends on the community that she came from. It depends on if she's a godly woman or a spiritual woman. If you have those proper safeguards in place, the odds of her turning or changing are slimmer. It just depends on the woman. Did you get her from the city or did you get her from the countryside? I think if you get them from the countryside where they're more traditional, they're more apt to be reign traditional. So it's a myth. Is it a risk? Yes, it can be a risk depending on the woman. And I also don't believe a man should just stay in a relationship just for staying. I believe that a man should come up with an exit strategy. I understand what Dr. Thunder's saying. I love that, brother. But I think a man should come up with an exit strategy. He should be very keen and very aware whether that child is young or not. I'm not saying you should wait till that child is grown. And I know it's easier said than done, but if you got the financial wherewithal to make moves, if your money is looking right, I would say start planning behind the scenes. If you told her what you expect and she's still not changing, don't keep arguing with her. Don't even argue with her. Just move in silence, because masculinity moves in silence.
It's going to be on that boy to be raised basically by his mom. And all of the negative things that can happen. And, that's a heck of a reason to stay married.
Yeah.
But, honestly, it's a real reason though. Can
I add to that, brother?
Go ahead, Doc.
Go ahead.
There's one of the things I've talked about in a recent show I did. There's a young man who's an actor, and his name escapes me, forgive me, but he was in the recent Superfly remake. And he had a couple of videos, one with Umar Johnson, where he was really frustrated at the mother, his own mother, in real life, and how she had actually raised him, how she had lied to him, how she abused him. And he finally, at the age of, I think, 28, had a sit down with his father. And this is something I said in response to that exchange he talked about. For many of us, there is a father somewhere that we've learned to hate, we've learned to be frustrated with, but we never got his side of the story. Now, that's not to say that men are perfect. It's not to say women are perfect. It is to say I'm a big advocate of getting the other side of the story. And for some of us, there is a father who has a box of receipts that you've not sat down and looked through yet. And by receipts, I mean, this young man, when he told this story, he said, my mother said, you never sent us one child's support payment. This man pulled out a box and showed receipt after receipt about continued child support payments. And that was the thing that really woke him up to the reality of what he was being lied to about. It woke him up that he actually had a father who cared, but didn't know it. Now, I'm not all saying we have that, Cinderella story where there's some perfect father waiting for us. If you didn't know your father, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, as human beings, we all err. And when it comes to Black fathers who often haven't had a chance to tell their side of the story, you might find, if you sat down with them, that you'll find out more about the other half of your life you don't know about once you have that sit down. But when you're raised to actually hate or have no relationship with your father, and this is something Dr. Thunder was talking about in terms of his wife, right? It has an impact on you and how you interact with others and how you deal with your own family. I mean, how does she treat her son if she has no idea what masculinity is and has no inherent respect for it, right? So these are things that we have to kind of get out on the table. And I tell men, sit down with your father. Have that conversation. I don't care if he was the worst man in the world.
And some of these women, guys, have the spirit of a hyena. Hyenas are very pernicious. They're very wicked. They're very cunning. Many times they will slander masculine men. I've been through it. Some of you brothers have been through it. They slander you because they can't control you. They slander you because they don't like you. They slander you because you stand firm on masculine principles.
The world, sit down with your father, and I guarantee you'll learn something you didn't know.
Well, listen, we got an antidote to that. We got Brother Eric Spencer from BMO called Black Man Options. I got it right this time, Eric. And basically what Eric is trying to tell brothers that there are women from other countries that are actually fit, feminine, and they're very cooperative. And they've been trained in patriarchal cultures where they're conditioned to more or less love and treat their husbands right. Now, listen, guys, we got a power-packed show. We got Dr. Tia Son Johnson. I call him the Falcon. Falcon and what's that guy dang Captain American Falcon, and we got Colossus up here, Dr. Thunder, and of course I'm Luke Cage. But I'm Luke Cage. But Eric, is it a myth that bringing women back to America is a wrong choice, or it depends on how she was raised and her spiritual upbringing? And tell the audience who you are, brother.
All right. Well, first off, salute to Dr. Thunder and Professor Tia Son Johnson, and also BGS in the chat. My name is Eric Spencer. I am one of the admins for the Black Man's Option. It was the group that was originally started by Charles Tyler. 2017, Charles Tyler passed away in Brazil. Wow. And we have continued his legacy. We have a group of people that are working behind the scenes to give brothers options. And our results speak for itself. Right. If you've seen Dr. Neal's latest and greatest video, at least the one when he came back, that's what BMO can do for you. Right. So, Tia Son Johnson, Dr. Thunder, come on down. Come on down. now to answer your question, it depends on you as a person, because I have friends that are married to Brazilians that live in the States. Yeah. I also have,
and one of those brothers is the American Brazilian. His name is Larry. He got his own YouTube channel. Go check him out. His wife Talita is from Brazil. She's from Sao Paulo, and she's from Brazil, and they're doing well. So it's a myth that if you bring them back to America, they're going to about face. Many times, women from those countries don't even deal with American women because there's a cultural difference, and many times the women are very negative when black men decide to get foreign wives. Shout out to my man, James Turner, the scale bouncer.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
And I thank you, James Turner, for always being a great sponsor and being a great advocate, because your time, your money, and your patronage is worth it. Thank you, sir. Damn, I keep messing it up. I'm sorry, guys.
Nobody had ever explained to me.
Hold tight, guys.
What if you could get rid of your kitchen garbage at the push of a button? Hey, I'm Matt from Pila, and I want to introduce you to my friend Lomi.
Well, after that,
you both agreed on it.
And you both agreed on it, right?
Country. Because as soon as you bring every other week, you know, I'm going to tell you,
hate or have no relationship with your father. And this is something Dr.
They're still socialized to respect their men. Mm-hmm. Feminism hasn't set in like that there. They're trying to. The problem is there's too much competition and there's not enough men to go around. Uh-oh. See, a lot of the things that you guys are talking about, I understand. But when you come to the Black Man's Option, we show you a different dynamic that most black men are not accustomed to. They're not accustomed to being around feminine women. They're not accustomed to being around abundance of women. And they're not accustomed to being around women that are aggressive and that know the worth of their men. That sexless marriage stuff, you think it goes on in Brazil? Oh, no. Right. Why? Because it's a fresh crop that comes up every single month. And when you go there, guys literally lose it because they have not been exposed to the amount of general beauty of the women. I'm not saying that they're all 8s, 9s, and 10s, no. But when you go out, you're going to see something you like. Whether you're going to the store, you're going to pump gas, hell, if you just going to the post office and get some stamps, you're gonna see something that you like, and you get accustomed to seeing it over and over and over again.
Right.
And you can approach them. Hey, how are you doing? Fine. And they're gonna give you all kind of open play.
Right. Right.
And a lot of guys, it's alien because we've been here in the Matrix.
Yeah.
We're stuck behind enemy lines. And a lot of guys don't have reference to compare it to.
Yeah.
Because when they go there, they see what femininity could really be like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they understand there's competition for those men. So when they come back to the States, they have a different frame that they can pull from.
Right.
They can say, I don't have to put up with this. You know what? I got my passport and I can book a flight.
Yeah.
You can be replaced.
Right. Right.
You know, that's profound. And I want to say, I think when you see true femininity, it even adds points to a woman's beauty.
It does.
Yesterday I was at a dealership, you know, picking up some stuff, right? And the woman at the desk was not attractive and on any physical level, but she was so nice and so effeminate and so sweet that I actually looked twice at her for a moment. And it wasn't so much about I want to go get with her, but I just noticed kind of
energy.
The energy. It was
It's
so
the energy.
It was like a breath of fresh air, just being around that kind of femininity, and it made her prettier than she actually was. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And just on a physical level.
Exactly. When you step off that plane in Brazil, it hits you in the face. And we literally have to explain this to guys because a lot of them don't understand it. We have a process where we introduce you to being around those type of women because left uncontrolled and unchecked, a lot of men lose it because they don't believe it. They're in denial about a lot of things. Seven's laughing, but he knows. He's seen it. And
I've seen it.
Yeah, and everything that they try to use to deter you, oh, they're not black. Oh, yes, they are.
They are black.
Oh, they're not feminine. Oh, yes, they are.
Right.
But they don't know how to cook. Look, they would rather go to the supermarket and cook than you take them out. And they are very submissive.
Right.
They are very accommodating. And they know that you being in their environment is like them hitting the lottery. Now, of course, they're going to look at you for resources. What woman isn't? But at the same time, they're looking to be married. Back to your point, you're marrying the families.
Let me shout out my man, my brother, Perfect Blackness. Thank you, brother, for that $10.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Blackness said that.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal,
my wife is
right?
South African.
Got 5 on it.
She was conditioned to be a wife. Find a black woman from other cultures that has strong ties to their family and practice of her customs, and she will eventually become Americanized. So I want you to come on at some point, Perfect Blackness, and share your story of having your South African wife. But you said she was conditioned to be a wife, flying a black woman of other countries that have strong ties to her family or her customs, or she will become, right, I agree with that, brother, and that's what I said. Her customs, her faith, her family, and how she was raised plays a major role in her maintaining her femininity and her desire to serve you and honor you. So you're right, Perfect Blackness. I would love for you to come on at some point during the show if you have time and more or less give the guys some clarity on the myth of bringing a woman back here to this country, because it is a myth. There are some men that bought their wives back and they're doing fine, but it depends on the woman and how she was raised.
A lot of Brazilians, they're big on family. They interact with family. When you marry them, you marry their family, and they want to welcome you, and they welcome the family. And it can be overwhelming. Myself, I came from a big family. My mother and my father had 5 siblings, actually 6 siblings on each side. And my parents were together for 51 years until my father's passed.
Right. That's a blessing.
So I understand what you're saying as far as socialize to look for wives when there aren't any.
Right.
But when you go, and I just use Brazil, but a lot of other foreign places are like that too. When you change the environment, you're changing your perspective because you've been looking through relationships through the rose glass lens of the matrix.
Right.
You take those same glasses and you go to Brazil and look through, and you're going to see a whole lot more, because if you are taking care of your business and you're giving her that romanticism, you ain't gonna get rid of her. Right. She gonna lock you down. You're not going to be able to leave the house. Yep. You're not going to be able to go nowhere. She's going to make sure that you are taken care of. There ain't going to be no sexless marriage.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem is and Dr. T. Hassan Johnson said this before, that we're still using this old playbook.
Right.
And it's a new game. It's different rules. We're still trying to do the same things. And so in my, in all of my simping, I was programmed in, I was programmed and I was looking at things a particular way, but there wasn't actually anything wrong with what it was that I was doing. It was just not for the right women
in the environment
or for the right woman. If it had been a woman that could, could see what it was that I was and the kinds of things that I wanted to do, the value of that, then it wouldn't have been a problem. Mm-hmm. I want to give a definition for us, a working definition. So sexless marriage, it's considered a sexless marriage if it's less than 10 times per year.
Oh, goodness.
If it's 10 times or less per year, that is considered a sexless marriage. And so there's probably folks, maybe.
Shout out to Black Man 3116.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
And you gave me more than 5 minutes. So thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. And I would tell you men that are listening, you would be a fool to be in a sexless relationship. Some of you men that are listening are in sexless relationships. You are frustrated. You're suffering in silence. And I got the antidote. Get your money right. Focus on yourself. If she's not honoring and serving you as a man, eventually get rid of her. Eventually. I know it's hard if you have children and have investments, but you got to move in silence. Get with the right attorneys and get with the right people if she's not going to honor you and serve you as a man after you've told her not one time, but multiple times. And she's willfully being disobedient and disrespectful. Eventually, just get rid of her, because your peace as a man matters more than the fleeting notion of money. As you get closer to the grave, your money doesn't really matter because you're not going to take it with you no way. Your peace of mind and trying to get right with your God or the Creator is the most important thing in the world. And as I said earlier, I believe in the God of the Bible. So keep listening.
Maybe some people that are listening, maybe some people that will see this is like, well, I'm still, we still have, every other month we still getting it. So it's not a sexless marriage. Well, yes, it is. That's considered a sexless marriage. Mm-hmm. A couple other things I wanted to say. I just want to make sure that if someone sees this that knows me or knows or knows my current wife, she understands that I was not talking about her. Right. And my current wife is fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive, and she had no kids before we got married. And she's wonderful, and she and that whole thing about being feminine and just the value of that's probably the thing that caught me more than anything about her. Is just that it's just and she's cooperative. It's no fighting and stuff. Now, much of my woes were the first, wife, mm-hmm. But thank the Lord that is over. It wasn't my choice that it ended either. And see, that's another thing. Men tend to stay committed, even when stuff is horrible. Even when, it was a sexless marriage. It was X, Y, and Z. She was using all kind of manipulation and tactics and everything else. But I was like, look, I'm staying. I said I was going to stay, X, Y, and Z. And then she ended up splitting.
But you know what, Dr. Thunder, clinically in behavior psychology is based on a construct called positive and negative reinforcement. And so when you stay, you're actually rewarding bad behavior. Leaving doesn't mean you're divorcing her. It just means I'm going to take a damn reprieve until you get your act together. Because what I've learned with women, they only respect power and strength. And so what you're doing by staying, you're actually reinforcing that negative schema in her mind that thinks she's better, which in essence is giving you an affliction. There's no way in hell, excuse my language, I'm going to suffer in silence for that. I'm not, I can't.
Go ahead, man. Handle your business.
I can't do it, man, because that's emotional abusive for me. But Dr. Tia Johnson, let's talk about a condition or a term that I call the Latina nexus, where women are in California learning to be wives as it relates to black men. I heard a guy by the name of Eclectic Tyrone that says,
and you know, guys, we're going to do a shallow point, or we're going to do a segue to this, because Dr. Tia Johnson talked about the condition in the class that he's teaching at Fresno State, where the women, Latin women, and also white women are actually coming to his class learning how to be wise, but also how to serve black men. I keep telling you, men, you have more power than you realize. There's not a man on this planet that I feel can compare to black men. Some might say that sounds racist. I'm not trying to be racist, but there's not a man that's been through what the American black man has been through. The creator of music, the builders of this country, the creators of swag, the indomitable black man. He's indomitable. He's been broken, but yet he still rises like a phoenix. There's not a man on this planet that I think has been through as much as black men in America. And while there are many men in America, white and of other ethnic groups that are struggling too, black men in America are very resilient. So I'm telling you, gents, I'm telling you, brothers, don't settle for mediocrity. There's greater over yonder. Remember, you are the prize catcher. You determine if she's prize worthy. If she's not willing to meet your standards, then you get rid of her. Because watch this. If every woman got married in America today, 2 million still wouldn't have husbands. So you have more power than you realize. But some will try to tell you that you don't have power. She thinks just because she got guys in her DMs and guys, you know, texting her, calling her beautiful and queen, that she's more valuable than you. But watch this. Many of the men that are doing that, she don't want them. And many of those men are just lying to them because they just want to have sex. Penis options don't mean wife options. I'm going to say it again for those in the back. Penis options don't mean wife options. Just because a man will sleep with you doesn't mean that he'll marry you. And by the time you get ran through, then you realize it's too late. And I'm doing this, ladies, because I love you as well. Because, see, some guys will lie to you. They'll tell you what you want to hear. You know, they'll lie to you and, you know, say feel-good messages, you know, like, you know, Steve Harvey and some of these other goofy guys, because he's a simp too. You know, and they'll tell you what you want to hear, but I can't do that. That's not masculine to lie to women. Because I love you, you know. The gospel says speak the truth in love. I can't lie to you. Maybe I should lie, you know, but that's not my nature to lie to people to get money or to manipulate. That's whack to me. You know, I don't see the need to lie. I'm not going to be abrasive, but I have to be honest with you. You know, that's the only way I know. And maybe because that Leo that's in me, Leos are just honest. We're honest. We're brutally honest. We're very masculine, but we're just brutally honest.
Brazilian women are socialized to not marry dark-skinned men. So we're going to talk about that, but let's talk about the Latina nexus that you've experienced, Dr. Tia Johnson, at your school in Fresno, California. Let's talk about that. And then, Eric, is it true that Brazilian women are not socialized to marry dark-skinned men? But go ahead, Doc.
No. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. I didn't want to overstep, but I saw that comment come through, and see, that's what happens when you talk to people that have never been someplace and talk to locals and really know what's going on in the country. You going by what somebody told you. I've been there 8 times, and I have friends that live in different parts of the country that I talk to. And I know what's really going on, and you don't understand it. The colorism argument here in the States, nah. The colorism argument in Brazil is real because you can see it. But that socialized dark-skinned men, that's a lie.
But then too, as American men, you know, you're coming in with a different income base. I mean, this is a very class dynamic. If you're working at McDonald's right now as a black man in America, you're not likely going down to Brazil trying to find a wife. You know, the kind of brothers that I'm seeing that are going are brothers of means to one level or another. I mean, this is where we are in the black community, where if you...
And shout out to Queen Shalakemia on that awesome show that we did last night. Shout out to Queen Shalakemia. I call her the alien with that swag like the Leo. Even though I'm the king of kings, I got that fire swag. Shout out to her. I said what I said. Shout out to my dear sister. Love you much. And we got to be in conversation at some point. Shout out to the Aryan, the resilient Ram, Shalakemia Moffat.
You earn $65,000 a year, which many of us know, like in New York or LA or San Francisco, that's nothing. But if you're earning $65,000 a year and you're in the top 10% of earners, top 15% of earners in the black community. That's so when it comes to that, going to another country, you're going to bring in a whole different status, which plays out differently. So that color strata may be something that exists, to those who are in Brazil, who are part of that culture. But at the end of the day, like I learned this going to Jamaica. At the end of the day, they never forgot that I was American. There was never a point where I wasn't American, and that played out in how they interpreted me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In terms of the resources that I could bring to bear. But Seven, you asked a specific question. What were you asking?
I was asking about a term I call the Latina nexus.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead.
Sure, I'm sorry. Yeah. So basically, this is something I've talked about online a couple of times, and Kevin Samuels picked it up and talked about it on No Jumper. Basically, I've been teaching a Black male studies course for the last decade or so at Fresno State. And one of the things I noticed is early on, there were different populations of women that would take my class for different reasons. When I started the class, it was mostly Black women. And I found over the course of the first 2 years that they mainly took the class so I could browbeat the men.
Shout out to that brother for that $20 super
sticker. That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Thank you, brother. You guys are doing an awesome job.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Love and support. These shows are time consuming. These shows are very risky. Anytime you take the risk to tell the truth, there's a cost, but at the same time, still I rise. So once again, guys, you guys are doing awesome. To the 88 that are watching, please share the content. I need at least 5 people to share the content. Once you share the content, the 5 people, let me know. But guys, I really appreciate everything you're doing. We got some more good stuff coming up in a few minutes. Keep listening.
And I was coming out of graduate school with a feminist kind of training, so that worked. When I began to shift from that, they stopped taking the class as much because I started speaking up for Black men and boys, and I started giving Black men and boys voice. Now, what I began to notice from there was that more white women began to take the class, not because of something I said, but because they wanted to learn how to take care of the Black boyfriends. They wanted to understand their Black boyfriends. Now, in the last 4 to 5 years, I would say that white female population has been replaced by Latinas who are coming into the class to try and understand Black men. And I live in Central California, so interracial relationships between, which is mostly Mexicans here, in terms of the Latino population, and Fresno is mostly Mexican. You're seeing interracial relationships between Mexican and Mexican women and Black men is not uncommon at all here.
Listen, guys, we're going to respond to that. Listen, guys, if you like the show, everybody get the thumbs up. Please like and share this program and help this channel grow as many men are suffering through a scheme of affliction. I'm honored to have the panel with the distinguished guests on this panel. But listen, guys, let's get up the cash apps. Let's get the cash apps up. Go check out Dr. Tia Son Johnson. Go check out Dr. Thunder. Subscribe to their channel. But cash out 7 Smalls. I am a licensed clinical therapist. And I'll tell you guys, these shows are very time consuming. But listen, I love the brotherhood. I love the brothers that are listening to the show. I love the people in the audience. So please show your love and support by donating to $7 Smalls. And also go check out Dr. Tia Son Johnson at the Honest Report, and also Dr. Thunder. Eric, back to you, brother. Let's talk about, I think we said the dark skin.
Shout out to Narc Perspective.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Shout out to the Hobbit.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
At 34 with no kids, just turned out a 39-year-old want me. A kid in marriage, introverted. She's just lost 5 pounds too, shooting her shot. So you're saying that a college lady at 34 with no kids now just turned 39 years old and she wants you. A kid in marriage, introverted. Okay, I'll let you talk about it at some point. MC Recover. But thank you, brother. Love you, brother, for the support, man. You're an awesome brother. Thank you, sir.
Thing. I forgot what we were talking about, but go ahead, Eric. I want you to back more or less backpedal on what Dr. Johnson was talking about, and then Dr. Thunder, I want you to come back in and peg it back. But go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, to Professor Johnson's point, yeah, they do look at you as gringo, you know, because you stand out. But there's so many other things that go along with that. Everybody thinks that Brazil is a third world country. And when we come, we expose you to where you have Louis Vuitton, Gucci, these high-end stores. People are driving Mercedes-Benz, Lexus. They have neighborhoods that have multi-million-dollar homes in them. And yes, that's not the vast majority of them, but there are people there that are making money that are comparable to the United States. So yes, you come in with a status that you're a gringo, but at the same time, there's a certain thing about us as Black men, us being socialized to respond to our women a certain way that kind of connects with how Brazilian, especially Afro-Brazilian women, because in their country, they think because their hair is curly or if they're a little bit browner, then they're told that they're not as beautiful. But when we come in and we're pursuing them, the white Brazilians are looking at us at a higher status, but are trying to figure out, well, why are you talking to women that we feel are lesser because of the complexion? And it kind of throws things off because they're not used to seeing dark-skinned men come in and command attention. Because when we move, we're 20, 30 deep. They're looking at us like who are y'all? And that gets noticed. And I always tell the guys at the beginning of the trips, they're watching you. They want to know, they want to talk to you. They're very open and friendly and things like that. But you have to really be there and understand what's going on. You can't take the playbook from the States and think you're going to run it in Brazil because you're not. Dark-skinned men are approached by white Brazilians because they encourage the mixing. But until recently, they've just now been distinguishing themselves as Afro-Brazilians through their hair. They're starting to have, Brazil is going through the civil rights movement for them. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing them starting to wear their afros. You're seeing starting them to distinguish themselves as Afro-Brazilian. And they have the foundation to continue that because there's so many of them that they've been able to maintain a lot of their African culture. You see a lot of it in the samba, the food. When you start going to the northern regions in Salvador and Belo Horizonte and other places like that, you really see that they're starting to embrace that. And you as an African-American man with a higher status, with the same skin tone, you empower them. And it's a wonderful feeling because they already are.
And yes, guys, there are a lot of Afro-Latin women in Brazil. Actually, Brazil's population has a higher African admixture than most here in America. Blacks in America are mixed with British blood or European British blood. But over there, they're mixed with indigenous Indian. A large percentage are actually Black or have Indian and African blood, or some mulattoes, they have African and European or Portuguese or German blood. But then some are mixed with Japanese, German, Portuguese, African, and indigenous Indian. So they are very homozygous. You know, they're homogeneous. You know, they're a mixture of many different things. So what he's saying is true. And we're going to segue this show in a minute with BGSIBMOR's issue.
Enamored by you. They're like, wow, you're American. I haven't met an American before. You know, a friend of mine, we went to Belo Horizonte and they had never met Black Americans. And they thought we were superstars. And they wanted to talk to us. They took pictures with us. And it's just a different type of environment that you have to get used to. The femininity would knock you off your feet. The beauty would knock you off your feet. The culture, the food, everything that they have to offer. No, it's not paradise, but I'm telling you right now, a lot more African-American men are looking for wives, and they're making the effort to go to Brazil to find those wives. And I guarantee you, they're going to find them, because I have too many friends personally that I know that are married to Brazilians. They're not going to advertise it. They're not going to put their business out there, and we're not going to do that either. We're going to respect their privacy, but I know it's going on. Yeah. And they're very receptive to it, and they're not looking for a green card. They really aren't.
And guys, there are some that want to minimize your ability to travel abroad. They'll shame you and say you should stay here in America and suffer with virulent, disrespectful women are not willing to compete for your love and your honor. They'll say, well, you know, it's not enough men, and many men don't have passports, so you should just deal with the women here. And I rebuke that. If you don't want to be married, just focus on yourself until you get the right woman. Once again, if you can find your uncovered gem here in America, marry her. If you can find a woman that's traditional from the South, even though that's hard to find, that's honorable, she's wife ready, she's striving to do the right thing, she's not perfect, put a ring on her finger. But I would say to the women that want men to get married, until you start fighting with men and start asking for the repeal of laws that seek to depower men, then you don't have a dog in the fight. Because you expect men to go into marriage blindly, and it takes a fool to go into a marriage blindly, because men now are not even getting a modicum of what men 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago got. Those men got women that were totally different, and they were a better crop of women. But you got women now that are not nowhere near the crop as their mothers and their grandmothers or their great-grandmothers. But yet you expect them to be 100% traditional. Make it make sense.
But if they come back, they're already socialized. That's the thing where a lot of guys don't get. They're already socialized to be wives. Even if you bring them back into this environment, all you have to do, I'm not saying all, but show them the difference. Because there's another thing too that's going on that's not being talked about. The environment has changed. So men are starting to smell themselves and understand their value. And it come at the worst time, because now we have data. We know that there's 2 more million Black women, and now we're on a global market. I don't have to shop in this store. Shout out to Edward Anderson. I can go shop in Colombia, Thailand, Morocco, Brazil. The store is wide open, and there's a shortage of these men. Like you said, 65,000, you're in the top 20. We'll translate that to a world economy. You're in the top 5%.
Right. Yeah. Well, top.
And that's what my man, the Ingram Experience, said. Go check out that brother. He talked about relationship capitalism. And also, I say relationship inflation. Relationship and capitalism. Relationship capitalism say you have a right to get the best bang for your buck. No pun intended, pun intended. When it comes down to women, you have the right to exercise your option. But what they're expecting you to do, they don't do themselves, because what fool will pay for a house that's been damaged or have termites when he can get a house that's built brand new? It doesn't make any sense, but they're trying to shame you for the sake of the so-called Black love and Black community. And once again, Black people are not monolithic. We never have been monolithic. We never will be monolithic. That's why we're having these discussions. I believe in Black family. I believe in Black community, but I believe that Black men should be the head of their families, and Black men should be able to get what they want if they've earned the right. Not dusty men, not bums, not men that are working hard, or men that are willing. Only the right men, because once again, men have the right to self-determination, because that's the right thing to do, especially in the clinical world. As a therapist, we give all clients the right to self-determination.
Top 10 in America at 65,000. So
right,
I hear what you're saying.
So you take that to some place where Brazil right now, the exchange rate is like 520 to 1.
Wow.
Dude, you in the top 1% in their country.
In their country, right. Dr. Thunder, you look, you wanted to say something. Before you say something, Dr. Thunder, Dr. Johnson talked about this counterculture movement that's seen in many religions about the divine feminine being glorified. In your best estimation, is this the spirit of Jezebel from a theological perspective, and also the spirit of the Antichrist? And if so, I want you to share that from your theological perspective.
Yes.
So,
no, I'm gonna say, I will say this, that I was just about to just bring up, where is the church? Where's the church on these issues?
Right.
On what black men are facing. I mean, if you look at the attendance of black men in black churches, it's been on a steady decline, and part of it is because there's not been, the message that has been preached has not been applicable to the kinds of experiences that black men have. That's part of the reason, and part of the reason is because when you try to bring up issues that you're facing, the solution is just to man up, or in mass there would be a pretending that issue is not a real issue,
right?
When probably half of the married couples in the church are facing some kind of sexless marriage or something. They'll try to act like it's not an issue, like this ain't really happening, or you just have to just deal with that,
right?
And even where as what Mr. Palmer would call simp enforcers, or they're around every corner protecting the women. I had an encounter with the simp enforcer. I did an episode on my on that Blue Pill Testimonials about sexual alienation. And in that, I didn't say anything about what women should do. I wasn't, saying anything about women. I was saying, this is my experience. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair that this should be allowed, that it should be okay. And the simp enforcer trying to have a public argument with me on Twitter, and then I took it off of Twitter, and we ended up doing a little bit behind the scenes. I ended up just letting it go because I could see that the person was not going to change their perspective, but they more or less were trying to defend the woman's perspective.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't get what's going on here. So I can't even say my experience, something that happened to me, something that I believe that was unfair that happened to me.
And that's what they want you to do, guys. They want you to suffer in silence. They don't want you to have the right to self-determination, to live your life unapologetically, to live your life on your own terms, free of shame, free of guilt, free of harassment, free of obligation. That's a mental health crisis that caused men to implode within, which in essence turns to an explosion because they want you to be a slave to their own fickle nature. They want you to be a slave to their agenda. And I'm telling you, men, on today, you have a right to be liberated. You are the first fruits of God's creation. You don't have to settle for mediocrity in this wasteland called America. If she's not willing to do what you tell her to do, then eventually you get rid of her. And because at the end of the day, your time on this earth is valuable, you are valuable, and your time is precious.
I can't even speak about that without you trying to, take the hypothetical women's perspective,
right?
Because they don't even know who it is that I'm talking about. Because I tried to hide people's identities because I'm not trying to out folks. So but that stuff is all over the place. I did on my Thunder's Thoughts program. I did a show called "Was Adam the First Simp?"
Yes.
And of course, the answer to that question is yes.
Yes.
And you can see right there in the garden, you can see him prioritizing pleasure over purpose.
Right.
And what ultimately will help men to weed out certain kinds of folks and poor mate selection for men, what ultimately will help them to weed that stuff out is by having the proper priorities in their life. And so from my perspective, God is at the top, and God is connected with purpose. So that's like one and the same. So the relationship that I have with God is expressed through the purpose that he gives me. And so everything that I do, that is lined up with purpose is going to put me in a certain alignment with God. And then everything else has to come after purpose. It must come after purpose. If you look at Adam in the garden, he was given particular tasks. He had to name all of the animals. This is before Eve was even around.
Right.
Now, consider what kind of monumental task that was. That was a long kind of task, very involved. So he had himself together before he was even looking towards a woman. And that, at least theoretically, was supposed to bolster him. But even with that, he still makes the same mistake and does the same thing that seems like all of us at some point will make, which is to prioritize stuff that is not important or not as important over the stuff over the long game. Men are supposed to look for the long game. Right. We're supposed to be securing things for the future. We're not supposed to be prioritizing stuff that happens in a singular moment. And but anyhow,
and that's why I tell you guys, never fall in love. You love a woman within reason, but you never fall in love, because once you fall, then your logic is impaired and your inner sanctum is violated. I'm going to stop this right now, and I'm going to play a show that BGSIBMOR did in the past. BGS often talks about the black pill. The black pill is synonymous to people saying, more or less, that men have aborted or stopped or checked out. They don't see any value in the current system. They say just let it burn because it's not beneficial to the men. So I'm going to share this link real quick, the next segue, and then we're going to drop the link and have a conversation before I see clients, because I want to have this conversation. But BGS talked about a year ago, said, do black men want to keep playing the rigged game? And I saw this on a timeline, and I felt like it was needed to talk about because, shout out to the Ingram experience. He's a brother of mine. Him and I often talk in private. Many want brothers to play a rigged game. They always talk about marriage and getting married and all this, and I'm not against marriage once again. I've been married for 26 years. My wife is a woman of color. Not that matters, because if I want to marry an Asian, a white woman, or whatever, I marry who in the hell I want to marry. Nobody tells me who I can marry. I'm a man. Nobody would tell me who I'm going to marry. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. But I'm married to a black woman and been married for 26 years. But my point is this, as I said earlier, to the women that want black men to get married, I want you to start protesting about the laws and the conditions of black men and men in America. Until you start working with lobbyists to change the laws, then we don't want to hear a damn thing about getting married. Don't come trying to shame men into no damn marriage unless you're willing to change the laws. And like Mr. Palmer said, you got to change the law of your mind as well. So we're going to play this clip real quick. And BGS did it about a year ago. Black women want black men to keep playing the rigged game. So let's listen.
And I was telling Warren Lance that I like a good ramble, and he basically complimented me, saying that my rambles are the best. And I don't know about that, but I haven't rambled in a long time, so I have to say, forgive me, subscribers, for I have not rambled in such a long time. And I don't think this is going to turn into a rant, because I really don't want to turn into a rant, but recently, and it's over the past few days, on Facebook, under Dr. Tiosan Johnson's Facebook, he actually posted a link going back to Kevin's video talking about what should a woman do for a high value man, specifically black women. And I do believe that was the video. And in that video, Kevin actually mentioned about the non-black women that would take Dr. Johnson's class, because Dr. Johnson is a black masculinist, and he actually teaches a black masculinity class. You know, ever since it started, he's had black women want to come take it because it's an easy class, right? Because it's a relatively non-technical class. So they can get good grades out of it, even though they choose not to. But the non-black women actually take the class, not because it's an easy grade or they want a non-technical grade, because Dr. Johnson does teach thorough material, but they come in because they have black boyfriends, you know, because Fresno State is very famous for athletics, and a lot of the guys that go to Fresno State are athletes. And of course, athletes have women of various ethnicities that date them. And even the black men that go there, even though it's a majority Latino area that are black, they have white and Latino girlfriends. And what Dr. Johnson was saying is that the students that are most invested in that class happen to be white women and Latino women, because they want to understand the men that they date, the men that they are actually involved with. And what Kevin was saying is that showed a deeper interest in the men that they date, that these women were invested in the men that they date so that they would actually take extra steps.
And let me tell you guys something. You want to get with a woman that's invested in you. If a woman is invested in you, she's more willing to cooperate. That's why I say you can't give a woman everything in a relationship. You got to make her earn it. In behavioral psychology, human beings like to take the path of least resistance. But if you make things too easy for her, there's an old saying that tough times make tough people and easy times make broken men and women. You got to make her earn that relationship, because guess what? She wanted you to earn her love as well. If she's not willing to earn that relationship, don't give it to her easy. If she's willing to fight for it, then she'll be more willing to stay invested. Women of the past knew that. That's why they stayed married longer. But now with no-fault divorce, many say it's no benefit to get married, because when she don't feel like being married, she could divorce you. And so make her earn that relationship.
To actually understand them, even though these men did not come from their culture. And that showed a level of competition that these women are willing to go take that extra mile and actually compete for their men. And the funny thing is that some black women came into the post and took exception to it. And now there's a very long thread going back and forth about white women, especially, fetishizing black men and black men allowing it. And what Kevin's video actually highlighted was the deficiency in the level of engagement that black women have with their men, or the level of investment that black women are willing to put into their men, unlike other ethnicities. And we can go through a whole lot of a cultural background going all the way back to antebellum slavery, but needless to say, that has always been true. Now, most women are entitled, and they have a long list about what they require from their men. White, black, all women have it. Black women have it too. The difference is the level of investment that these women are willing to give back to their men. And black women's investment are willing to give back is perhaps the lowest. Now, there's one thing black women will do that a lot of other ethnicities won't do, is that black women will put up with a lot of foolishness, which is probably why they love knuckleheads. Because the one thing that black women do have in spades, or supposedly have in spades, is tolerance for some foolishness. I guess that's their one superpower. So if you have a superpower, you will tend to use it. Okay, so you know, if you're a hammer You want to find a nail. You don't want to find a screw. But the thread was going back and forth about why should black men allow Becky or Maria, whoever, to fetishize them, because evidently they want one thing, even though that one thing was never specified. And the only thing that I could think of was looks and sex, because black men aren't the most, successful of the groups of men as far as financial success. And clearly black men do have cultural deficiencies, as all black people do, because of the environment we raised here in America. So black women say that the only reason that black men could be wanted in the United States is for looks and sex, that they're actually a sexual fetish. And some of that is true, because guess who says the exact same thing that black women say? White men say the same thing. In fact, that was a big thing going on about BLM. In fact, on both sides, because the vast majority of people out there protesting, carrying BLM signs, are white women. And a lot of your white men are saying that the white women are out there looking for eggplants, which is the same thing that the black women are saying.
Shout out to Michael Green for the $5 super sticker. Thank you, brother. Shout out to Barry Hampton. Barry Hampton, Coach, I appreciate what you're doing. The wise explanation on things that black men need to hear. Men must not be browbeaten to accept the mediocre women as a last result. I agree with you 100%. Brother, that is so true. And shout out to my brother and my ex-brother I traveled to Brazil with. Good brother, good man. He's a therapist like myself.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
Very important. That's why I seek to empower and to educate the brothers. Keep listening.
That the only thing that black men are good for is sex and whatever resources they can actually supply. But guess who says the same thing? Black women. That black men are only, really the sexual prowess of black men is what black women actually bank on and actually brag about. The most thing that the black women will actually brag about a man that they have is how he looks and how good he can actually blow backs out. So in the essence, they're accusing Becky and Maria of doing the same thing that they do. But this conversation kept going round and round and round and round and round and round. And what they expected from black men is to reject all suitors, all offers, anything that's not black, and sometimes anything that is not below the paper bag threshold. That black men should reject it and pick only a certain brand of woman. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. You hate your women, you hate yourself, you hate your mother, you hate your race, yada, 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 on and on and on. I don't have to go down the ad hominem list for you to get the point. And I got to thinking that for black men in America, the game is always rigged. It's not just rigged in the United States with getting jobs and dealing with the police and dealing with society and all the other hurdles that black men have to jump on a daily basis. The game is also rigged with your woman, because God knows black men have complained about a black woman's bad behavior, which is legendary, not just with black men, but also with all other men. Their bad behavior is legendary. So much to the point that you can actually have statistics that point to black women's bad behavior. They have running statistics about their bad choices and their bad behavior, and it shows up. And not only do they have bad behavior that shows up in stats, in cultural outcomes and family outcomes, they actually don't look at it as a point of shame. They look at it as a badge of courage. They look at it as an asset instead of a deficit. They look at it as a virtue instead of a problem. And if black men don't like it or don't change for them or don't adapt to it or don't choose it, then there's something wrong with them. If you think about it, it's like being a casino. Now in Las Vegas, even though the gambling percentage is in the house favor, okay, everybody knows that. Whether it's slots, whether it's cards, whether it's sports gambling, there's always going to be a slight edge to the house, so it can stay in business, so it can make money. Otherwise, why would you be there? It's rigged, but it's actually rigged slightly, because you don't want to rig it to where the people won't play and go someplace else. You rig it to the point where that even the gambler has a fighting chance to actually make some money. A lot of them won't, but enough of them will to actually entice them to actually sit down and put their money down, right? Okay, in the black community, for black men, the game is so rigged that they expect you to.
And that's what I'm talking about, guys. The game is rigged. That's what I'm talking about. The game is rigged, and until we have reform, it would be remiss of me as a black therapist to tell men to get into relationships where a system is not beneficial to them. That's why I said men should have the right to self-determination. That's one of the preambles of the professional code of ethics, is for men to have the right, and human beings, men, women, boys, and girls, to have the right to self-determination, to live their life on their own terms, to have the power to see and do what's best for them, not based on this nebulous concept of black love. Even though I do believe in black love, I think it should be modified to suit the head and the man, not based on shaming language to tell black men you should just damn take anything and support the black community. If you want to get with women that got kids by other men, that's your right if that benefits you. Some say it's not wise, but I'm not knocking the man if that's what you want to do. But make sure it's something you want to do and you research it well. But I don't believe in shaming men into servitude. I don't believe in that. Because being a man in America is hard. And men have a lot to lose if they get with the wrong woman, because no-fault divorce is real. And many have gone by the way of the grave because they didn't have the proper wherewithal to deal with the pain and the hurt and the brokenness. When a man falls in love, he is very vulnerable. A man, when he falls in love, it can be very dangerous for him because he loses his purpose and he loses his sense of direction. In the clinical world, we call it the internal locus of control. His internal locus is that internal dialogue that helps him stay focused and centered on his square. In the mental health, when a person has the internal locus of control off calibration or off the equilibrium or off kilter, they're not aware of the things that are going on inside their head. Every man should have a healthy internal locus of control. But when you fall in love, and I said fall, not only are you a victim to yourself, but you can be a victim to those that are around you as well. Keep listening to BGS and his classic rant.
You're expected to play and treat them like they're the only game in town.
Right.
And that's what the whole point of the thread was. And that wasn't the first one. Because not only are you expected to play a rigged game, not only are you expected to bow down to the only game in town, not only are you expected to serve, you don't have a right to complain about it. Because if you complain about the rigged game and the unfairness and the mistreatment that you have to put up with, then not only do you hate black women because it's the first card they pull out, and as a sister said on a panel I was on, you also hate.
And guys, that's classic manipulation. That's classic gaslighting. That's a classic form of death. That's why I had to get that goofy troll off my platform. Anytime black men start speaking out and declaring what they want in relationships and demanding it, because many men, American men, black and white, are going to taxation without representation and the mental breaking of the American male. And they'll come in with goofy stuff talking about, y'all are conquered by the white man, and they ain't got a damn thing to do with what we're talking about. They'll come in talking about goofy stuff like y'all don't protect and y'all don't provide, but they don't listen. They don't honor. They don't serve. They don't obey, that dirty word that many don't want to hear, because they don't understand what true submission and obedience is. Every man must obey the laws of the land. Every man is expected to obey God. Every man is expected to obey the rules and to obey his employers. But you telling me you can't obey your husband? When a man tells you certain things, you say he's trying to control me, not knowing, goofy, that all men got to have a healthy level of control in a relationship. There's abusive control and then there's equitable control. You got to control your relationship, because if you don't control her, she's going to control you. What do you think happy wife, happy life is? That's control. What do you think when you got these goofy men that say, well, I got to ask my wife dragging their knuckles? That's control. But she can control you, but you being the head of your family, you can't exercise a level of control in your family. But she says she loved Jesus, but Jesus said that man is the head of woman. And the woman is the head of the children, and God is the head of Christ. But you go to church every Sunday to Sycamore Hill Baptist Church, and you go to Freedom Flames Pentecostal Church of God in Christ, but you can't follow damn order and leadership by talking about you love Jesus. You don't love Jesus, you love yourself. You got biblical a la carte. You pick and choose what parts of the scripture that you want to live by. And these goofy preachers don't tell y'all the truth because they don't give a damn about you. They just want your money. I grew up in church. I was a masculine man to the point that sometimes even my pastor didn't really care for me because I didn't even tap dance for him. And I loved him and I respected him, but I bow to no man. It's not a man on this planet that I think is better than me. And so I would stand firm and say what I believed in. I didn't go behind his back and talk about him like a lot of these weak clowns and cowards would do. If I had anything to tell him, I would tell him to his face in a spirit of respect. But like BGS is saying, you know, the game is rigged. And incels, the many men that don't have opportunities, they have a black pill perspective. They just say, let the city burn down because there's no hope. Many men have become black pills, especially incels, because they don't feel like regardless of what they do, they can't get a good woman anyway. So they don't even see any hope. They say the world is dark, let the city burn, and we're going to keep it moving. Keep listening.
Yourself. And in fact, I'm not going to call her name. In fact, I had to correct the young lady because she was saying the way black men on YouTube and sometimes on Facebook talk about black women, that is a sign of self-hatred. And I had to inform the young lady that she needs to stop using that as a crutch. And why do I say that? A lot of black women use that talking point about self-hatred, or actually projecting self-hatred onto black men, as a way to deflect from black women's bad behavior and the behavior that black men find not appealing. And so much so that even thinking about or even entertaining another casino, another house, another game that does give you better odds, does give you a chance to win, does make the game fairer, because dealing with women is not a fair game, especially in the United States. Black women expect you not to take it, not to entertain a better deal, not to entertain better treatment, not to entertain being fetishized. Because black men seem being fetishized, at least they pretend like they want me. At the very least, I get the pretense that I'm desired, that I'm wanted. The whole mating strategy of black women is to pretend like they don't want you, that they don't like you, that they don't want to be around you. And for them to even to be nice to you is an affront to their dignity and a violation of black womanhood. Her mere cooperation, even though it would enhance the family, even though it will make a better lifestyle, even though it will make you happy and you easier to get along with, they figure it's an affront to even do that. And the only way that they will even consider even giving you basic cooperation, because that's all submission means for black men. Black men have no inkling, no thoughts of black women submitting like other groups of women do.
Right.
That's not even in the cards. We already know up front that's not going to happen. All black men want is basic cooperation, basic consideration, basic niceness. Just
and guys, you can't even get basic, but you got goofy people telling you, talking about getting married, only to get, taken to the court and have your testicles in a jar. But you can't even get basic cooperation, basic submission, basic. This same baby, I agree. But some of you just want men to get married blindly, not understanding the ramifications they got to deal with. And I can't be part of that, and I'm not going to be damn part of that. I don't believe in that.
Basic. Black men like to have their ass kissed too. All people like to have their ass kissed. At least every now and then. Black women believe if you're not kissing their ass or your lips are not firmly planted on their ass, then there's something wrong with you. Right. And in Dr. Johnson's two or three threads that he had. Black women came in trying to basically reattach your lips to their ass and basically come in and actually mommy all the black men in that thread and basically discount all the experiences of all black men, because guess what? What you feel, what you see, and how you think is not what it is. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Which is no different from the slave master. And black women sell this point, sell these shaming tactics as a loyalty test. If you don't do this, if you don't kiss black women's asses, if you don't reject all other offers from all over women all over the world, then you are not loyal to your race. You're not loyal to your women. Becky can't even smile at you without your loyalty being tested. You're not supposed to avert your eyes. You're not supposed to look. You're not even supposed to listen. And if it were up to black women, you wouldn't even be in proximity of these women unless that's where they sent you. But they can send you to an all-white school with all white women treating you nice and then get mad because you like being treated nice. You like to being spoken to in a respectful manner. You like being approached, because female approach and masculine approach are two different things. You like...
And guys, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about that feminine oscillation. I've actually talked to a lot of brothers behind the scene. Young brother now is actually in Brazil. He's going to be there for a while. Shout out to my man, James Turner. Him and I are working behind the scene. Planning to do a show with Richie Mack at some point. Zoom to Thailand. And we're going to talk about male empowerment, because part of male empowerment is the right to self-determination, to live his life unapologetically, to live his life on his own terms without the fear of being shamed into damn silence. We're not going to tolerate that. We're not going to tolerate that as men of color, as men of any ethnicity. We're going to live and stand firm on our convictions as men. The original sons of God, the original man, the black man, the original Adam, I believe, was a man of color. I believe that Adam is the image of God. And everybody else comes after that. But Adam was, in my mind, a man of color. Adam was a black man. And so you will be a fool, sons of God, to allow a system that's not set to benefit you, damn dictate to you what you should do, and you should just be blindly loyal to women that are not loyal to you, because based on this last election, they showed their loyalty. They didn't vote for policies that would be benefit to the black man, the black family, or the black community. They voted for themselves. More than 50% did. I saw many of them do it. Many of them were families and friends, and they got mad at me because, you know me, I'm not going to shut up. Ain't nobody going to shut me up. I'm the king of kings. And so that's what we have to deal with. So I'm here to empower you brothers, to let you men know that you have alternatives outside of this country. If you can find your uncovered gem in America, then go for it. But if you can't, you go to where you can find your uncovered gem. Because your time on this earth is limited.
Women to actually start a conversation with you and treat you like you're a human being instead of a piece of meat. If you look at any media that has to do with black men, the interaction with black men are always treated like the bitch in the relationship. And if you're not treated like that, then you're treated like the monster, both of which they're in love with. But I think this ramble's gone on long enough, and it wasn't supposed to be a rant. And it is a stream of consciousness I just wanted to get out. I just had to say it. If I don't cut it off now, I'll probably go on for an hour. But black women expect black men to play in a rigged game where the dice is loaded, cards are marked, the dominoes are tilted, the slots are actually illegal, and the odds of winning are way, way, way too low. And they deem that as acceptable, preferable, and standard. Why? Because it always has been. Because until now, they were the only game in town. And with that, I'm going to jump off of here. This is BGS out, and I will see you guys on the next.
So shout out to the venerable BGSIBMOR. Shout out to that brother. And we're going to drop the link and we're going to have a conversation about the right to self-determination. Shout out to the exalted lioness, Mrs. Chantel Simone. I got these fire signs in the house. Chantel Simone, she's what I call the exalted lioness. She's in the circle of fire, like Queen Shalakemia. I love my fiery fire signs, especially the women, because they mirror what I do as a man. And you might be right, high def. I don't know. It said a year ago based on what I saw, but maybe it was 8 years ago. But thank you. But it still remains the same. So if BGS was saying that 8 years ago, how much worse is the world as we stand firm in 2022? Men don't have the right to self-determination. I'm going to read through some of these questions. I'm going to drop the link. I want you guys to cam up. If you come up, if you're at work, I understand. If I know you, you don't have to cam up. But people that I don't know, I need you to cam up. The ones that I do know, if you can cam up, please cam up, because I want to have a conversation on the day, because I want you men to live your life on your own convictions. Life is fleeting. And once again, my dear sister experienced that recently as she's crossed over into the glory world. And I'm invigorated, because I want you men to be invigorated too. I want you men to live your life on your own terms, because when you get ready to cross over into that celestial plane, your money won't matter, your status won't matter, none of that will matter. The only thing will matter is that, are you at peace with your Creator? That's the only thing that's going to matter. And my sister's experiencing that now. So I'm passionate and I'm fired up, because some of you, half of your life is already over. And I want you guys to live your life on your own terms. So the link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. I said it right, ex-church girl, goofy preachers. I said it. Yeah, they're goofy, very goofy. Because of some of these preachers are not even worthy of being men of God, in my opinion. They're horrible. JG Rise, you will rise again, brother. That was a setback, not a defeat. Been there too, push forward by focusing on your purpose and your peace of mind, no doubt. So guys, the link has been dropped. Let's have a conversation. Yeah, well, you're right, calculated risk. That's probably what he was saying, no doubt. Makes sense. But let's have a conversation. Let's talk about the rights to self-determination. But until then, guys, share the content to the 88 that are watching. Get the likes up. If you have not donated, donate to Cash App $7Smalls. You guys have been doing an awesome job. I love you, brothers and sisters, to the sisters that are trying to learn and understand the costs of being married, the risks of being married, and trying to understand what men need and want. This show is not for the faint of heart. It's for mature women, not for women that are in their feelings, not for women that get easily offended when men speak, but mature women, women that are willing to understand. While you might not agree with some of the things that are being said, I strive to be very respectful to the women. But when you're in male spaces, sometimes men might say the things that you don't want to hear, but that's the parody of being in a male space. You're going to sometimes hear things that you don't want to hear. And so you got to be ready for that. So shout out to, I call him the Sandman, because his eyes be going every damn whistle way when he's on his stream. Shout out to my man, the Ingram Experience. Shout out to him.
He called me the Sandman. I love it though.
Oh, the damn Sandman. That's my man, the Ingram, the Sandman. So Ingram, how you doing, brother? And what's your take on the right to self-determination? When you think about what men go through, you talk about a nebulous concept, or not nebulous, but a very profound and laden concept called relationship capitalism. But let's talk about it, man. When you think about what's going on, the right to self-determination, because that is a clinical term that I use as a therapist as it relates to the code of ethics, it believes that men should have the right to self-determination, but human beings, nonetheless, not men per se, but clients should have the right to self-determination to live their life on their own terms and get the best outcomes as it relates to treatment. But let's take it from the social concept. When you think about the right to self-determination, what does that mean to you, and how does it parallel with relationship capitalism?
Well, Coach, can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Oh, absolutely. Just got to check my sound. All that fire for your mind. I had to absorb all that today, man. I've been tuned into the broadcast. You got to hit me with that
fire for your mind. Your kosher clinician.
I can listen to that all day long, man. But brother, going right ahead into it, man. Appreciate it. A salute to you, man. Great topic today. Salute to Chantel. I had a nice conversation with her a while back. I enjoyed the conversation. But to your point, to your topic, I brought the term relationship capitalism because I always talk about life. People respond to incentives in life. Right. And I think what happens many times with this plantation mentality, especially in the Black community, and this mindset and mentality that you owe some form of servitude to somebody, especially if they haven't served you well. That idea, that's just anti-capitalistic, anti-business. Nobody would run a business like that. And my challenge is about advocacy and self-empowerment. And when we talk about relationship capitalism, we just apply capitalistic principles to how we look at our relationship as a business. And the currency for all business is value. And if you look at your life that way, then you look at situation, how does things add value to your life? The women you choose, the moves you make. And we talk about that because a lot of times they ask men to subjugate themselves, to lower themselves, to lower their standards. It would be like in the business sense. I made a video back then with remember Jim Jones in the Gucci store, which almost made me sick to my stomach to see a grown man begging Gucci to serve him better. Mm-hmm. That's not empowerment.
Right.
You know, empowerment is I walk in that store, you don't treat me the way I'm supposed to, I'm not going to spend my money there. And I apply that same principles to relationships. Unfortunately, Jim Jones, as much as he complained and bitched and moaned, he still walked out of there with that Gucci. So I call him the Gucci slave. he couldn't overcome his desire to wear that Gucci. And I think that's what they want Black men to be. Gucci treats you like a bitch and you still spend 29 grand in Gucci. You look like the simp of the world. So they want us to subjugate ourselves, to beg, to pander to people that don't treat us well, just like Jim Jones did in the Gucci store. Right. But my mentality is that of empowerment. You don't offer me the type of services or respect that I deserve as a man based upon, I'm not talking about no dusty bum man or whatever. I'm talking about men that are productive, honorable, hardworking men. And I think what happens is Black men have to understand that there's Black women through the diaspora all throughout the world in different options. And you have to use what you've worked hard for. And now, like I said, that's not to knock the good sisters here. There's good sisters here. But I don't think we are, obligated to take any form of mediocrity. And I think that's what having a capitalistic mindset, the business mindset to relationship puts you in that mind frame of. It's an empowerment mind frame.
Mm-hmm. No doubt, no doubt. MC Recovery and Wellness, brother, how are you doing? And how would you like to add to the conversation as it relates to the right to self-determination? You're a drug counselor, and you've more or less treated clients talking about the concepts of determination. But how would you like to add to the conversation as we continue this conversation in male empowerment?
Well, it's like, I seen the show that you're showing the audience, and when I first seen it, it just gives me chills, flashbacks of the relationships that I've been in, and the one I've been in with my son's mother. My son's mother, where I am like, you constantly say, I'm always putting in the relationship, putting in. And every time I was looking up, I wasn't getting stuff back. Like that I wasn't getting that feminine energy back. I was getting pushed back. Mm-hmm. I wasn't getting thank yous and stuff. Only thank yous for when I let you have your way. Mm-hmm. So, so I'm just over here just chilling. I thought I'd wear this shirt, this all around shirt I found at Burlington. So I bought me and my son this.
Right.
But what I got out of the church back, what really stings me, what you said, Kosher, was when you said the respect of your pastor. Mm-hmm. because due to me being in recovery, 4 years ago, I tried to, take my son to church, and it looked like every sermon was all the sermons was wrapped around in like, catering to the female, skipping these verses, and it's like I gotta whisper to my son and say some other stuff to get him to see that the men get action. And when I went back to church, some of the guys I seen years from the last time I went back was gone. So and my position of how I went back to the church, I went back to see what I can bring. Do the resources? Because at this point, I've been at a county for a certain amount of years, and then I'm going up to my pastor saying, he's a new pastor, he's young, and I'm saying we can have health fairs, employment fairs, we can do all these things, we can bring the community back, but the church was doing everything that the women wants to do. The cook, fry, collect clothes, and donation. So to me, that was the stuff they was doing when I was in my drug and alcohol addiction. Get it? I was in my full-blown addiction, going to pick up that free food, selling it, and keeping the peanut butter. I sold all other groceries. So, I was that kind of alcoholic addict. The snacks and the peanut butter is mine, but everything else was looking like a $5 or a $10, hit or a drink. So to be sober and see that we still at that same place.
It's unfortunate, man. When it comes down to black men having the right to self-determination. And Ingram, I've always said from that episode with BGS, I said if a man wants a traditional woman, then he should get it. Why is it so hard for people to understand the concept of self-determination, Ingram, in your opinion?
I think it's hard for people. I don't know. Most so it comes from, especially in our culture where we have most of the kids born, 80% of the kids born to single moms and single mother situation. We really don't have a lot of masculine men that really mentor to these boys and raise them with the right mindset and mentality. And we've learned to, as a culture, accept less. But that carries on into our relationships because the mentality has been ingrained in us to try and fix things that should not be fixed. Basic needs, basic cooperation, basic submissive. Expecting a woman to be submissive to a man, and a lot of these women are in church, and I call them the Christian feminist women, and so on and so forth, where they just pick around the Bible. But I think the problem we have here, and even now I hear in these internet spaces about them talking about things like marriages. And anytime a man talks about why he's not married or why he has reservations about marriage, they try to shame him or push back at him because we've raised in this single parent matriarch to accept a lot of things, and we see a lot of things, and they expect us to continue to accept those as men. And even though it be a detriment to our lives. So anytime like guys like me come in this space and let men know that there's other options, that you don't have to be an altruist, that your life deserves happiness. You deserve happiness in life. You can live life on your own terms, be in relationships with quality women. You're not supposed to, your life is not supposed to be that of a sacrificial animal. They have problems with men like us because we're educating men that they can do better. And they get a lot of pushback. They call us names, But the reality is, like you, Kosher, my message is going to be the same. Whether I have 100,000, 200,000 people on my channel or 2 people on my channel, my goal is for male empowerment. They don't want to hear this. What they want to talk about is men marching blindly into their own destruction. So they don't, because they don't care about male issues. They don't care about changing the laws. They don't care about unfair laws with child support, alimony, divorce laws. They don't care about any of that. They just basically say, love conquers all, walk blindly on faith. Don't even talk about the fact that most marriages in the Black community last 5.5 to 6 years, or nationally is 8.2. They don't want to talk with guys with me because they don't want to deal with stats, data, statistics. They want you operating on the feeling principle.
Right.
But when Black men or men in general decide to make their happiness a priority, because like I told, nobody's going to take care of you like you, Kosher.
Right.
And they don't want to hear that. They just want you as a sacrificial lamb to the community, giving up your happiness, and then you just die, and then they have a 2-week mourning session for you, and then after that they move on. That's what they want. And they don't like guys like me and you. They don't want to hear from us.
Right. And I don't understand it, man, because only thing I'm talking about is relationship equity. I'm not against marriage. You're not against it, and neither is MC Recovery and Wellness. I believe that marriage is a beautiful concept if you get the right woman. But I don't think a man should blindly walk in the ring of fire. I don't believe a man should give his rights away just for the sake of community and just for the sake of what his family said. I don't give a damn about what family said. Family don't have to deal with the after effects when you lose half of what you got. Family don't have to deal with the mental health when you find out your wife wanted a divorce because she don't love you anymore, or because you found out that baby that you had wasn't your baby, or when you found out she gave her body to another man because she wasn't happy. Family don't care about that. So I would be a fool to tell men just to go into marriage blindly. I believe the men should get what they deserve if they're good men. I'm not talking about any man. I'm talking about good men, and good is subjective. But I'm talking about men that are willing to work, men that are hardworking, men that are determined. Alisa Delisario, dear, if you can, pop back on. I'd love to hear your perspective. I know you popped off, but try to pop back on for a minute if you can, dear. Shout out to the Roger Report, Max. Is that you, Ingram?
No, that's my brother with the Rogers Reports, man. He had good content over there.
Okay.
All
right. Shout out Roger Report. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother, for that 10. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for your kind gesture and that support of the channel, brother. I appreciate you, man, because we're trying to start a movement. And what I'm doing is rare, Ingram. What you're trying to do is rare because many don't want to hear the concerns of men. You got so much simping in America that it's a shame. It should be a simp should be in the DSM. The DSM-5 is a mental health diagnosis. They should put simping in the damn DSM-5, man, because it's definitely a mental condition. Go ahead, brother.
Well, that's the biggest problem you have, and I know a lot of men talk about leadership thing, and like I said, I respect a lot of the sisters out here that are trying to do the right thing. I see Suzette speak. Love Suzette Speaks.
Well, shout out to Suzette Speak. I call her the scale bouncer. How you doing, dear? Shout out to Suzette Speaks. She's one of those sisters that's trying to uncover so that she can recover. So shout out to that sister.
When I see women like Suzette Speaks, ex-church girl, Chantel Simone, those are lionesses. You can work with a lioness. A male lion can work with lionesses.
Right.
What a male lion can't work with is hyenas.
Right.
And hyenas only respond to the matriarch. So all these men in these spaces talking this leadership stuff, male lions cannot lead hyenas.
Right.
In fact, they are a pack of vicious, and they will maul you. We've seen it in National Geo in Nat Geo. Wow, stop trying to lead hyenas. My thing is replace those hyenas with lionesses, and that's the only way you can move forward. Like I said, I'm not a beggar. I'm a buyer, and I don't believe in this mentality of begging women to change. That's like me standing outside of a business who's giving me poor service, like that simp Jim Jones, the mother kissing guy. Mother tongue kissing brother Jim Jones.
Kodak Black.
Well, not one dude there, whatever the guy's name is. The dude's inside the Gucci store, right? Gucci don't treat him well. He's begging Gucci, talking about sparkling champagne and water. Man, I would have took all my Gucci and threw it in the trash. I'm wearing no simp Gucci shit. The Gucci tell you don't want you. Why do you wear that? That's the simp mentality. Sit around begging women to change for you. Women don't change for men; they change for themselves. That's. If I go to a business, they don't serve me well, I go down the road to the competitor. That's just the way I operate, and that's an empowered mentality. They want men to be altruists and have a simp mentality.
I totally agree. I got my man Perfect Blackness. Go ahead, MC Recovery. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Yep, it was like what I basically put into the chat is that I met this individual 4 or 5 years ago when it was 34, and they was going to this certain university. Now they didn't graduated, and I took pictures of them last year, and now I didn't got the phone call that they starting to look at their siblings' life compared to theirs. They don't have no kids. Now all of a sudden I look all in other words, to me, I feel like I look like a bullseye. I look like a target. Should be because the way this female is built, she's built in a way where where a person like me would say, yeah. But it's like they don't have no kids, but it's that introvert side. That side, and I experienced that. That side mean to me that you want me to be introvert too, and I'm not an introvert. I'm shoo. It's like I'm a person that like doing outreach and doing community things and stuff of that nature. But it looks like a deal, but it's not a deal. It's something that an individual want me to walk into right in the blind. Because what I learned right in this space is that I got to look at that college loan, like how much debt, and then if another kid is coming, mine's is 14, another 18 years.
And like I said, MC Recovery and Wellness, they want you to go into relationships blindly. And once again, I'm not against marriage. I'm not against a man marrying or dating who he wants to marry. If you want to date women with kids, that's your business, if that's what you want. But make sure you get a woman that's willing to serve you as a man, because watch this. If you get with some women that got kids, they want you to come in to be the cleanup man, but you can't discipline their children. And you would be a damn fool to be with a woman that you can't discipline their children. If she can trust you to get your money, then she can trust you to discipline her kids. That's the way I look at it. But I want G Money and Perfect Blackness to add to the conversation. But in the meantime, let me show Top Gun some love. Top Gun said to the Dream Team, no doubt. Shout out to Top Gun.
That's a deal, right? That's a deal. That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
G Money and Perfect Blackness, I want you guys to add to the conversation as it relates to the rights to self-determination and the mental emasculation of the American man. So unmute yourself, brother, and add to the conversation. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, what's going on, Coach Clinician, man? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. How you doing, sir?
Hey, man, thanks for having me up, man. I've been really following you for a while, man. And
thank you.
But I've been in this space for a while as well. But I'm more of a boots on the ground trainer guy. I do a lot of mentoring and coaching and whatnot. Okay. But I want to comment on the because I said in the chat, I super chatted you earlier that my wife, she's from South Africa, and I met her actually by chance, and I can tell you, man, at the time that me and her met, I was completely done. I had made the decision I wasn't going to get any more relationships and any more, especially not with an American woman. Completely done with. And yes, I feel that Black American women have completely rendered themselves completely undateable and not marriage material. They don't present themselves as marriage material at all. Period.
Right.
At all. And I for one, and the young men that I used to coach and now mentor them as young men, getting out there and everything. And I tell them often, don't date or marry Black American women. Just don't do it. You want to date out culturally. Now I'm a man of the community, and I really do believe in rebuilding the community. But we're not going to be able to rebuild them with the crop of women that we have.
Right.
We're just not. That's just my personal belief.
Right.
From what I've seen and from what I've and I can tell you right now, I've never been happier.
Yes.
I've never been happier. My wife, she's 20 years younger than I am. And we have a grown 1-year-old child together, and she's pregnant. She's like 4 months pregnant with our second.
Yes, sir. Right,
And
right.
You talk about a woman who I've never been treated this way.
Mm.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't take me long to figure out that this was a woman that I need to nail down.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes prepackaged with submission. She comes prepackaged being a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, met her. She was 24 when we met.
Right.
Never met a woman. I lived 47 years of my life, and I just now find a woman who can outcook me.
Oh wow!
Now you step back, and you think about that for a second. You know, I'm a Gen Xer. I've lived all these years, and I've never met a woman up until now who can outcook and outclean me.
Oh wow, that's
and
powerful,
who expects to do it.
Right.
Who expects to do it.
Yes, sir.
Now,
right.
I can cook. I can barbecue. I can cook real good. Right. And she takes it she's offended when I'm able to prepare a meal, something that she can't make. She goes about her business to find out and to make that meal better than I can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep this house clean. Now she came to me, the house is always clean.
Right.
It's cleaner now.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to be a housewife. When I met her, she was working. And we got into a relationship and everything. She made it her business to make sure that all her money goes into my account.
Right.
So that I can control.
Yes, right. She
You know
come
I mean?
into
So
the relationship.
All the finances.
Yes,
her
sir.
Mother, she talks to her mother daily. And this is a point that I wanted to make.
Go ahead, brother. Speak on it.
And this is the point that I really want to make, because I said, because when I tell people this is all, they're just gonna get over here and they're just gonna get Americanized and all that. That's not all the way. That's not all the time true, man.
That's a myth, right? It's a myth, right? Mm-hmm.
I've seen this. She's had some quote unquote friends or acquaintances that accompanied her from South Africa. A lot of them are Americanized, but this is a thing that I've seen with them. Those females, they have no connection to their families. They have no connection to their culture at all. They completely avoid it. Mm-hmm. My wife, she talks to her parents daily, all the time. She's talking to them. It's anytime that her mother's always asking me, you know, how am I doing? How is she doing? If I inadvertently say something that she's not doing something right, it gets back to her, and it's a problem. Mm-hmm. So I know if I ever have an issue with my wife, I don't even have to. I go to her mother.
Right.
I send a message to her father, and you know they get her straight.
Right. And that's what I said.
She acquiesced to that, and I don't have to worry about that again.
Yes, sir. Right. I agree with you 100%.
I don't have to worry that all that stuff that you know that she's gonna get over and get American. No, I don't have to worry about that with her.
Yes, sir.
I don't have to worry about that, but that's not all the time true.
Right.
Now I will say you just can't marry and date any of them just for the fact that they're from Africa or a woman from another culture.
Right.
What is her head like?
What's her head like?
What is her family like? Mm-hmm. You know, because the minute that we got together, the first thing she did was put me on WhatsApp to talk to her father.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then her father had a long conversation. Mm-hmm. Then her mother had a long conversation. She didn't move in with me until we were married. Mm-hmm. But when she was coming to visit, it was like I had a wife here. Mm-hmm. Because it was something that I had to really fix myself for, fix my mind for. Because she would come over and I'm washing my clothes. She'd get upset with me. What do you have me here for?
Right.
I said, well, you don't live here. Well, I'm here now. Mm-hmm. So when she come over, she didn't expect me to do nothing.
Right.
This is a woman who was trained that way.
She was trained that way.
In her early 20s, she was trained this way.
Yes, sir.
I didn't ask her. She came over here like this. Mm-hmm. And I was at a point to where I was not married. I'm not married no more because I've been married before. Mm-hmm. I had to go through this whole mess with the child support, with custody and all that. Mm-hmm. Spending 9 years and $41,000+ in court fee just to stay involved with my daughter. This type of stuff is foreign to her. Mm-hmm. And I was done. And even now, I'm like, even if this marriage don't work, I'm flying over to South Africa and finding me another wife. Because I can tell you their worst is better than our best on the best day.
On the best day. And that's what Lulu Bing was talking about. She's from South Africa. Roger, I want to ask you a question, Perfect Blackness. What do you say to the ones that say that there's a remnant of black women in America left? Because, you know, you got your feminine oscillator, and I'm so happy for you. But some say that there's a remnant left. What do you say to that? Do you feel there's a remnant that's left, or you feel like if it is a remnant, you got to go do so much to get to it that it's not worth it at all? What's your take on that?
There is a remnant left, but it's so small that it's not worth the search. Because by the time you find them, man, you look at what you got to go through just to find them. I mean, they stopped making those type of women 40 years ago. They stopped making them type of women in the early 80s. Them women don't exist anymore.
Right.
Some you might find one or two, get lucky and you luck up and find one. But in America, nah. As they say, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. The search is not worth the reward because the search itself is going to put you through hell. You're gonna need a cardiologist just to. By the time you find one, you're not going to have the patience to even deal with it. You're just not. So I advocate for, especially these young guys, who are meant to look. Don't do it. First of all, you don't marry until you in your mid-30s. Give yourself some time to get yourself set in your career, stack your money, and that way, by the time you get a wife, that is submissive, there is a house and all for her to take care of. Get your mentals together. But if you're gonna marry, you don't waste your time with a Black American man. You talking about a man? I got a daughter. My 10-month-old. That's a girl. We're gonna have a boy though. And look, if my daughters turn out to be like that, I ain't got nothing for them. I have nothing for them. These women, they're not taught. They're not raised. They're taught to avoid being a housewife. They are taught to avoid cooking.
Right.
They are taught to avoid being feminine and submissive. You can't say submissive. That's a bad word.
That's a bad word, right.
That is a horrible word.
Right.
You know what I mean? There is nothing that my wife won't do without first bringing. She won't do anything. And I'll be trying to encourage. Even right now, I'm still getting used to this level of submission.
Right, it's spellbound. I want you to tell the audience. Right. I'm going to use this show.
And it is a level of responsibility with that too.
Right.
Because that she is willingly putting her life in your hands, literally.
Right.
But this is what they expect, man. They expect this.
Well, how did you find your South African wife? Lulu Bean is from South Africa. How did you find your South African wife? And let's talk about the joy that is meant to your mental wellness and your mental well-being. And did it bring you a lot of elation and joy to know that there are women in this world that are willing to serve and honor you as a man? What did it do to you mentally as a man to get a submissive woman? And how did that help you become the better version of yourself?
Well, I can tell you because I've always been on my certain type of program and been very regimented in my life. I spent 10 years in the Army. So and that's pretty much that level of discipline has always been in my life, man. This has allowed me to really free up my masculinity, right? As opposed to having to hide it and whatnot. I'm able to free up and I have less stress. I'm not going to say that we don't have disagreements, because every relationship has their problems. But I don't have these type of problems. I don't have to come home every day and prove to my wife that I'm a man. I don't have to do that. I don't have to go into the back and forth. Okay, I think we should do this, and she'll say, "Well, I think we should do." I say, "No, I think we should do it for this reason here," and the conversation stops. I don't have to go into a whole back and forth with you about something that I already have the expertise in, like finances, like the direction of the household. I don't have to fight. When I tell you that there is an absolute ease with that, it's kind of hard to explain, but when I say that I don't have to explain my masculinity, I don't have to explain it.
Right.
I don't.
Right. You shouldn't have to explain it because you don't have the time to explain it, because as a man, that's a masculine man on his purpose, he needs a woman to be his sidekick. A woman is willing to help push him forward, not constantly damn battling with a woman. And that's why I do what I do on Perfect Blackness. I want to see men happy. I just lost my sister last week of ovarian cancer, and she's on the celestial side, man. No, it's okay, brother. And when she, succumbed to cancer, I realized that my time on this earth is limited, and I have a more invigorated passion to more or less stand firm in masculinity, also to give men outcomes and options. That's why I paired up with the Ingram Experience and other brothers that are willing to speak truth to power. There are so many women that are trying to make you be quiet, Perfect Blackness. They're trying to shame you into damn silence. But you ain't gonna shame me. I had to boot off a goofy troll that came on my channel earlier, running her mouth, talking about some goofy mess. All of it was a man or woman talking about, black men are conquering all this goofy mess. Not understanding they are agent provocateurs of the same damn thing that they talk about. So, I don't have time for it. I believe in male empowerment. If the woman is righteous and she want to be on the ship of Zion, so be it. If she's not righteous, then she can get off. Let me shout out to these super stickers. Shout out to my man Gita. He said, looking for more kosher African babies. You funny, Gita. I don't know about all that. I think the fact is sewn up. Unless if I move on, I got a divorce, but if I ever get married again, I'm getting me a wife from Africa or Brazil. If I ever do it again. Unless I can find one here in America, and she got to be damn good if I'm gonna put a ring on the finger. But and shout out to the Roger Report for another $10 super sticker. He said the Roger Report.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
You've been putting in great work, my brother. No doubt. Feel free to use it, brother, and let me know how it goes. Let me know the name of the show. But you're free to use it, brother. I don't have a problem with it. Use it. Use it, share it to help empower the brotherhood. But I'm so happy for your Perfect Blackness because Lulu Bean, she's from South Africa, and she talk about the very thing that you talk about. And there's a lot of brothers in these spaces that are single men, that are good men, and many times, Perfect Blackness, they were invisible. Did you ever have to deal with being invisible? Like, you like a man in great shape, you don't like you're a bad-looking man, but were you ever invisible to black women before you got your South African wife?
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about it. Talk on it. Speak on it.
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you, because I work in IT, and I spent 15 years or so building my career in that. And when I say that's something that was really, really unappreciated, because I'm in corporate, and that's not a very easy thing to do in this field, to be at the senior level in IT in this field, to be a black man. I promise you it's not. And the work that it takes to do just that. I can tell you, man, my first marriage, it was really, really tough because I spent a lot of days and nights, doing my studying and all of that. And I was, ashamed for that, because I wasn't, spending the time that she felt that I should have spent. My current wife here, man, she not only is she encouraging, but she really finds ways for me to be more successful in terms of, she doesn't know anything about IT, but she's always looking, have you gotten this certification? Are you going to get this certification? And I heard, they're giving a class for this, that, and the other. Now, a lot of times I tell her, like, no, I can't do that. I can't do this. Or I'm way above this cert, right here, but there's a couple of certs that I am going to be looking to get. When I say that she is always looking for ways for me to be able to better myself in ways I never even thought of.
Right.
And I can tell you that is such a comfort to have, to be able to come home to. That is a comfort to come home to. Those type of women, there's no amount of money that I want that I would spend for her. None. I spend more money on her than I've ever spent pretty much on anyone.
Good.
On anyone, right? And I don't miss it. I don't miss the money. Any other woman, I've missed that money. I'm like, God damn, dude. Should I have done it? Not with her. Not with her. And like I said, man, this is a type of woman who would definitely encourage, because there's some other things I want to do in real estate. I want to. She's giving me a lot of ideas about real estate and having some business interest in South Africa. That's down the road that we're going to be doing. And I'm trying to set that up now, but this COVID stuff has kind of put a lot of that on pause. But I never even thought about that type of thing. And she's like, well, with your mind, what you can do, there's a lot of things you can do there, do a lot of teaching. And there's just so many things. I never got that with my ex-wife. I never got that with any type of, any girlfriend that I've had in the past. I coach football. She's not a, she doesn't know anything about football, but she's definitely been encouraging in that, you know, in that way. Loves the fact that I mentored through the football program and all of that. My ex-wife hated it. She called the kids bastards. If they were taken away from the family and all that. Not my wife. This is a strong. When I say that, you know, this is a woman that you know, she had our child naturally. No epidurals. No, none of that. Strong woman.
Strong
and
woman,
she
right.
intends on having the second one naturally. This is, and she you would think that America, because America, they need nurses, they need babysitters and all that. She got all that her goddamn self.
Wow, that's powerful.
With no complaints. None. And I still get this house is clean. She's 9 months pregnant and all that, cleaning the house.
Right. Cooking, right.
And I'm up here, maybe I need to help you out. You know, let me go ahead and work from home. You need me to work from home? No, why you work from home? Go on to work, do your thing, because you know, because working from home, it kind of looks bad. Now, look, I can go on and on and on and on about the benefits of the happiness that because whereas before I'm going to the hospital and all that, now I'm not. You know, I didn't spend. That's why at the time I was like, I'm done. You know, I'm done. I got a good career. I'm not making $100,000, but I'm close to it.
But you're close to it. That's good.
I'm close to it. I spent all this time. I'm not going to spend all this time, spend 10 years in R&D and get out and spend 15 years in the IT field and do all work this much to get to this level, this point in my life, only to have to come home and have to prove myself over and over and over and over again to some ungrateful woman.
No, you're right, brother. Hold on for a minute. Let me shout out to Jamal Full of Love and Michael Green. Jamal Full of Love for the $20 cash app and Michael Green.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
God, you guys are awesome.
That's a bet, right?
And,
that's a deal, right?
You know, I'm
that's
so
a
happy
deal,
for
right?
you. Perfect Blackness. But I want to hear from G Money real quick. G Money, how would you like to add to the conversation? And then I'm going to go back to Ingram and Perfect Blackness. But how would you like to add to the conversation and black men right to self-determination? Go ahead, brother. Unmute yourself, G Money. G Money, unmute yourself, brother. Are you there, G Money? G Money, unmute yourself. All right, Ingram, go ahead, man. What do you think about that perfect occasion that Perfect Blackness going to do? I had to mute you because you sound like damn Darth Vader in the background. I thought you were Darth Vader, man.
No, it's just my mic, probably, man, just acting up, man.
Yeah,
but you know, a salute to the brother who just basically explained what men really care about. And I always talk about. I hear so much conversation in this space about men and women, and they're trying to shame men into silence. They don't want to hear men's perspective. But like, they ask me questions about marriage, and the first thing I always tell them is this: I'm not anti-marriage. In fact, I am pro. What I do is I cut the conversation like this: I'm pro happiness, anti-torture.
Right.
And I understand the benefits of a peaceful home. See, because when I define happiness, I look at happiness in terms of the relationship, happiness in terms of life, happiness even in terms of marriage. And what a lot of people try to do is try to put us in a category that we're anti this, anti that. And I talk about what men value most is having a peaceful home.
Have a peaceful home, right.
It's not about any extreme ideology, and being able to use that as an advantage out here in the working world to push ourselves more forward, to inspire ourselves. It is not natural for men to argue and fight with women. We don't want to come home and argue and fight with women. And I always put this test, and I said, if I had to drive, I'm up here in the Northeast, all the way down to Miami in an RV, straight down to Florida. Am I going to be riding with a smile on my face, or am I looking to jump into Potomac at the earliest convenience because that person is just torturing my ears or annoying the hell out of me? So that's how important peace is for men, and getting along with women and being in a situation where we can enjoy a woman's femininity and grace. But I think that's what's missing from the conversation, because everything is about men being weak, men not being masculine. It's your fault. because everything that's wrong is your fault as a man, because there's no other accountability on the other side. That's why this conversation continues. I like I said, I get an assist from you, and I continue on. Like I'll continue this conversation tomorrow at 12 noon on my channel, and we talk about advocacy and empowerment, because nobody wants to hear the voices of the brother who just spoke.
Right.
They don't want to hear about it, but because they don't want to, it sounds to them like you're bashing women or bashing Black women. But when the only thing guys are just saying is that we just want a decent level of treatment and respect from our women based upon what we bring to the table as men.
And you know what? Perfect blackness, and when we're going to talk about it, I always told men if they want a traditional woman, they should get them. I've also said if a man work hard, go to school, study hard, and prepare himself, he has a right to get the kind of woman that's going to fit his ecosystem and fit his program. Many women want the marriage. They want to be wives, but they don't want the marriage. The marriage is when the work starts, not the wedding day. And many are all getting happy, and they think the marriage is about them and the wedding is about them, but it's not about really you. It's really about you willing to come into that relationship to serve that man, to help him meet his vision on the earth. And I've said before in the past that women are at their best when they come in willing to serve their men. Because if she take care of him, he's going to take care of her. A good righteous man. If he's a righteous man, he's going to give her the best. But many men in America are so weak. They don't have any standards. They just damn accept anything. They eat out of the trash can. You know, they, like my man Al Green said, shout out to him. But they don't have any standards. And then you got people that try to shame you or silence you because they get in their feelings when men begin to speak and they think, you know, oh, I don't like you, so I'm going to unsubscribe. I don't really give, you know what, I don't care. Do what you got to do. If you think I'm going to compromise my message to appease your fickle feelings, I don't really care. I want to get with women that are willing to learn. I want to deal with women that are willing to introspect. I want to deal with women that will say, it's me, oh Lord, I'm standing in the need of prayer. I'm trying to get myself together so I can prepare myself for the right man. Not any man, but a righteous brother. Not a perfect man, but a righteous brother. But you got women coming to relationship expecting the best from men. And like this brother is saying, you know, perfect blackness, he got him a woman from South Africa. Lulu Bean talk about it all the time. Some of you men that are listening, if you can't find your woman here in America, travel abroad. There are women from the Hoysian culture. There are women from the Zulu tribe. There are women from Brazil, from Sao Paulo. They're looking for good American brothers if you can't find her here. And many men are saying they can't find her here because every time they want to speak about what they want, the Ingram Experience, the MC Recovery, and Perfect Blackness, and G Money, they get shamed back into silence. And I don't believe in that because shaming men into silence is not good for their mental health. Every man have the right to self-determination. And BGSIBMOR did an excellent expose, as well as the venerable Dr. T.S.R. Johnson. What do you tell your sons, Ingram, about getting their wife or getting the woman of their dreams? You got two sons, both are D1 basketball players, I believe. I know one is. But what do you tell your sons about getting the kind of woman that they deserve? I know you are an advocate for dowries. What's your take on that, brother? Unmute yourself.
The biggest problem you have here in America is that ever since sexual liberation's been out, everybody, and you're dealing with feminism, you're dealing with sexual liberation. The biggest issue you have now with marriage or relationships in America is by the time people get, because women are always encouraged to go through with their career first. Not that you can't have a career and pursue a relationship, but by the time women get to a certain age where they want to marry, they've had so many hot girl summers, they've had so many encounters in the dorms, you know, and experiences and imprints that happen throughout life. It's very difficult to find, you know, I think marriage quality women that are willing to be submissive and cooperative and fall under the leadership and guidance of a man. So for me, I'm at a point in life where I think for young men, it's probably best to, you know, if you can find that here in America, do it. Or if you have to go abroad, do it. But if you find women with less imprints upon them, that encourages that the statistics show that you have a better opportunity to have a successful relationship in marriages. And if you find women that are traditional in culture, what I mean by culture is not just the woman, it's what's behind her.
Right.
Because what happens now in the social media climate is that who she talks to when you and her are having fights and conflicts are important, because if she's talking to a bunch of her feminist radical friends or crazy radical aunts and grandmom and mom that's never been married, that grew up in this matriarchy, what you're happening is now is just you, is her, is social media, and the rest of the radicals that are working against you in her relationship.
Right.
So we don't want those type of women. So I'm at a point right now that I'm willing, in terms of my boys, to pay a bride price if they want to get married or find a woman from overseas. I don't want women marrying my boys with high body counts or a bunch of imprints from so many other men and bringing it into the family. I don't want women that are cultured, that are not backed by culture. It's not them, it's grandmom, it's aunts, it's all the other family members and friends that they listen to that affect relationships, because those things are very important to make relationships last and family.
That's a very valid point. G Money, how would you like to add to the conversation real quick about the right to self-determination? This stream is getting into 3 hours and 20 minutes. It's been long, but it's been a great show. But how would you like to add to the conversation, G Money, about men succumbing and not having the right to the self-determination, brother? Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Kosher Clinician? Can you hear me? I was having issues with my audio.
Oh, you're fine, brother. Go ahead.
First off, just want to say I'd like to offer my condolences to the loss of your sister.
I appreciate it, brother.
Good to see you again, Brother Ingram. Always spitting that fire. The previous gentleman that was talking with the wife from South Africa, congratulations to that. I'm glad you found happiness. And also the gentleman on the top right. I don't remember your name, but good to see you too as well. But I listened to you play BGS's clip. That was a classic. That was like a classic video.
Right.
And he's talking about Dr. T.S. Johnson and the non-Black women that take his class to learn more about their Black boyfriends. I just thought that was interesting. It's a woman going through that type of length just to better understand her partner. You don't really see a lot of that within our community. There's just this weird entitlement a lot of our so-called sisters have. A lot of them don't come with a lot of bringing a lot to the table as well.
Right.
And I know Brother Ingram talks about relationship capitalism, and I talk about standards. Someone mentioned the church. I liken the church to the Democratic Party as well. That they kind of pander to what our women want, and they kind of ignore us. And I watched a video that Dr. Ron O'Neill did with Dr. Thunder. That was another classic video. And it was basically about the church and the issues with the church. And Dr. Thunder made an interesting point. And I'm glad that these sort of spaces online are just available for men to kind of just discuss our thoughts and discuss our issues. But he said one thing about the church, and he also made a comparison with the Democratic Party. When especially during this past election, if you were kind of listening to the messages, they were really trying to talk to the women and the girls. Black men and boys are kind of ostracized.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you guys agree.
I agree.
Which is why I just decided to vote third party. And if they don't establish programs that include Black men and boys, I'll probably just not even vote or just vote Republican. I'm getting tired of Black men being ostracized, being treated badly just in general, just in the political world, the dating world. We're just expected just to take nonsense from all sides and not say anything about it.
Right.
And I think a lot of us are getting tired of it. Those of us who are thinking, some of the brothers, they're waking up, but a lot of us are still kind of like blue pilled, and we don't really understand what's going on. Maybe we don't want to understand, or we're just we're just so thirsty to try to get with these women who disrespect us and who don't hold us to a high hold us to a high account. They're just disrespectful, and we just have to raise our standards in general. And once we raise our standards, all of these issues will change. The political issues, the dating issues. We have to focus on our purpose. And the brother that was speaking earlier with the South African wife said he spent over a decade working on his career. Me the same. My main focus is my purpose and my career. I have women that I'm dating now that want to get into serious relationships or committed relationships, I should say. And I'm not letting anything come in the way of my purpose and my career.
Yes, sir. I totally agree, brother.
If you're not adding any sort of value to my life, I don't want anything to do with you.
Right.
That's kind of the way I'm thinking right now, and a lot of black men are thinking that way.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree, man. Glasser talked about the choice theory, and I said the self-determination actually affirms Glasser's 5 elements of choice theory, which is power, fun, freedom, survival, and belonging. And many men are suffering because they don't feel like they get those elements. G Money. They don't feel like they have power in America. They don't have fun. They don't have freedom to express themselves unapologetically. They don't feel like they belong to a system that respects and honors their masculinity. And also they feel like they're surviving in this cesspool called America. And so we got to have these conversations, because if we don't have these conversations, men will become saboteurs of their own ignorance. But in the meantime, shout out to my man.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
It's very cathartic when men are standing in front of feminine women. Men are not getting that feminine oscillation that they need in order to become the better versions of themselves. And as I said before, men are getting frustrated. They're tired. Al Grease did Frustrated 1, Frustrated 2, and Frustrated 3. I will be in his movie Frustrated 3, along with Dr. Ronald Neal, along with El Guapo, my homie, and a few other people. We're going to be in that movie, and we're going to be telling our story about why men are frustrated in the contextual framework of America. So these conversations are very important. The Ingram experience talks about relationship capitalism, and that's tied to the right to self-determination. I actually played a clip intentionally pontificated by Mr. Ingram, and it was talking about why men need to do the things that they need to do. Actually, I'm going to play that clip again because what Ingram talked about is true. Men are the arbiters of relationships. You determine what you want in a relationship. If that woman is not willing to meet your expectations, then you got to let her go, because your time on this earth is limited. And you don't know when you're going to stand before God and meet your creator. And you don't have time to be arguing and debating with a woman that's not willing to serve. So I want you guys to look at this clip by Mr. Ingram real fast. We're going to sign off in a few minutes as we continue to talk about self-determination in a time when many try to make men suffer in silence. Listen.
Guys, I want you to check out this young brother on this clip and his comments on marriage. Very profound statement. A lot of wisdom from this young man. I salute him. I'm proud of him. Without further ado, let the clip play.
For the guy, why didn't you marry her? Or why don't you marry her?
Because she didn't earn it. I speak for the men when I say a failed marriage is a loss for men. It drastically changes your life for the worse. And all men really ask is that you're at least worth the risk. There are these BS concepts on this site, like a man will waste years of your life while looking for the girl of his dreams. Like, no. A man will spend years in a relationship waiting for you to become the girl of his dreams, because he's already pretty much chosen you for that position. All he wants is for you to unlock that next level of commitment. But that will require humility. That will require you to let go of this take me as I am mentality, because I can tell you, a man that doesn't respect himself will take you as you are. He won't require you to prove yourself. But a man that respects himself, a man that's masculine, a man that has any respect and reverence for the Most High, will make you earn the prestigious position of wife. If you haven't earned it, you won't get it.
Like this brother mentioned in the clip, a man who respects himself, a man who knows his value, a man who respects the Most High, it's not going to just sign over his life or give up his life for a woman that just doesn't meet the standard or doesn't live up to those expectations of a wife. So when a lot of people ask questions about men and why men aren't married, why there's 54% of black men that are single and unmarried, I think this gentleman, young man, answers the question. So for you guys, I want you to take this in mind. The Ingram Experience in this channel, we support you guys. Stay strong, stay positive. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe, guys. This channel is about empowering men, but also we support the ladies as well. But I think the men are where we need to put most of the effort in right now. There's enough channels on the internet that cater to women. So guys, enjoy your day.
That was about the Sandman. You know, his eyes was going 100 miles per hour, calling Hurricane Ingram. He's from the Bahamas. But that clip rings profound, and that clip was perfect for the show today. And we're going to sign off in a few minutes, but these conversations are very important. I'm going to ask you a question, Ingram, starting with you, then to the Ingram, to MC Recovery, and then to G Money, then I'm going to sign off because I have to go. But do black men in America have power, in your opinion? And where do we go from here in order to get it? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
All right, there we go. Black men in America have a lot of power, and if they understand that they don't have to respond to the shaming language. You don't have to be an altruist. Your purpose, you deserve peace and happiness in life. Your purpose on this earth is not that of a sacrificial animal or to be a slave to anybody, especially to any community that doesn't serve your purpose. And you're not begging people to show you the basic decency and courtesy that you would expect. And my philosophy on that, if you take a capitalist, you don't owe any obligations to your aunts or mothers or grandmothers to live in a life of misery. Mm-hmm. That's not what life's all about. Right. And that's shame should not be the motivation behind any decision that you make that can affect your sanity, your health, and your financial well-being long-term, because everything that we hear in society now is about trying to get men, especially black men, to blindly walk into the situation and clean up the mess created by undisciplined people. That's not your job in life. Your moral purpose should be your own happiness and also your own prosperity in pursuing things in your life. And I always say before, men respond to incentives. If you don't give them no incentives, they're going to sit on the sideline. They're not going to take a part of it. So like I said, for those people, I'll continue this tomorrow with more male empowerment, more male advocacy stuff for those that want to come on and join me tomorrow at 12 noon. But once again, Kosher, I appreciate you bringing me on, man. And like I said, for those people that think that they can shame black men are getting smarter. Men in general are getting smarter. You don't have to accept mediocrity. That's rubbish. You have one life to live. No one's going to take care of you like you. If you think somebody is sitting, even your own family members, and even some of these men in these spaces that are in miserable situations that don't want to see you be happy, you can't listen to them. They want you just to walk blindly, don't pay attention to data, statistics, and facts. And for them, they can go bite one. But anyhow, that's a whole nother story. Peace out, Kosher. Thanks for having me today, man.
All right, be good, brother. All right, about to sign off. Real quick, Ingram, MC Recovery, real fast, about to sign off in a minute. The black men have power in America in less than 2 minutes.
Well, yes, black men have power, and due to the YouTube space and other shows and outcomes, women in America are starting to see that black man is starting to tap into that power.
Right.
See, and it's the tapping in as that power is where I'm seeing on a daily basis, some of the women showing signs of, when I meet them in public, or like the female I was talking about earlier, wants us to ignore that power. So I'm at a place that where no, I don't want to ignore the power. I hope I don't be shocked for next time when I run across a female that wants to introduce me to feminism, that I don't have it confused with what jumped off with me as as a as a attack of suspicion. So so it was real good being on your show and listening to that early brother say some of the things that I experienced, like a female taking off my shoes, fixing me a plate. That felt real odd.
It felt odd, right? Because we're treated so bad that when you get treated well, you don't know how to act. But it's normal.
Yeah, but it was like you taking off my shoes for what? And then you giving me the remote control to your TV. That scared me almost. But it's like it like it raised my antennas up to say, something's going on.
No, right.
But it's like, but I forgot to see that I did take the female to a concert and Sexless, but it's still,
Right, you're not used to it, and most American men are not, because we're treated so badly, and that's why I want to help black men calibrate their mental faculties. Shout out to my man, M. Nick Took Flight, for the $2 super sticker, offer condolence for the loss of your sister. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. It's been some trying times. Go ahead, real quick.
So we just basically have to just stay tapped into the power. They call it standing on your purpose or something.
Standing on your square.
Oh yeah. Just standing on your square. So I'm gonna continue to stay tapped into the power. And then I went to Ibram's show yesterday. And my 14-year-old was listening to this show and Ibram's show a bit, because he's coming into manhood. Because he's 14 and he's 5'11" now, and he's still growing. So what that I would like to say, you have my deepest condolence to your sister. I'm over here having some trying times myself, because I believe my mother, she's supposed to be getting an MRI tomorrow. So just say life gonna go on.
All right, no doubt. Real quick, G Money, thank you, brother, for coming on. Do black men have power? And what's your take on the right to self-determination in less than 2 minutes? I have to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Black men do have power. I mean, as you can see, the mainstream media is starting to tune in. I just don't think it's because we have a presence online. I think in the real world, they see that a lot of us have kind of like checked out.
Right,
we're not putting up with any of the BS anymore.
Right.
And what was that young lady that wrote that article? I think for L. What was the name of that?
I know what you're talking about. You
mentioned Obsidian.
Right. I know, yeah. ELLE. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that's a popular magazine amongst I guess the white woman base. This sort of what we talk about here is getting out, and like I just said before, men are raising their standards. They're not accepting any old woman that comes their way. The wind blows their way. We're talking about what we like in women and how we want to be treated, and that's important to us. The conversation has always been skewed about what women want and what they want, and our happiness, it seems like it doesn't matter. But now,
right,
I think with our conversations that we're having online and the presence we made online, the word is starting to get out, and we're changing a lot of behaviors with amongst ourselves. A lot of dudes are not simping anymore. We're not just accepting any old woman with her baggage who mistreats us on top of that. And I don't think they know what to do. It's not a mainstream movement, but it's effective, because a guy like me, the way I live my life and the way I move, I'm very focused on things that are important to me, my purpose. I mean, I date here and there, but when you have this thought process, this way of life, you tend to weed out naturally low class and undeserving women of your time. You just weed them out naturally, and a lot of them are kind of seeing that, and
they are.
We're getting a lot of women in our space. Women that come and they're talking about positive things like Chantel and Pink Book Lessons and Lulu Bean. Women that talk about the things we want to talk about. So the conversation is starting to shift. I think it needs to push more into the mainstream, so we can, so they can start coming out with policies that benefit both men and boys on a political scale. Because at this point in time, we're just being ignored and ostracized, and I hate it. I hate it. It makes me not even want to go out and vote.
Well, that's why these conversations are important, man. But we're going to sign off, man. G-Money, I haven't seen you in a while, man. But much love and blessings, man. I love you, brother. Share the content. To the 58 that are watching, share this content. If you have not donated to the channel, you guys are awesome. You've been holding me down. You guys have done an awesome job today, and I count it an honor to the great women like Suzette Speaks. I have not forgotten you, sister. We were going to do a show at some point to the exalted lioness, Chantel Simone. I love you, young lady. And also to Queen Shalakemia Moffett. Much love and respect, because there are women, G-Money, that are trying to uncover so that they can recover, because our time on this earth is limited, and you have to live your life on purpose, free of drama and free of negativity. So we're going to sign off in a minute, brother. This has been another great show, and I might do another one on tomorrow, man. So much love and blessings to the people that are listening, and we're about to sign off. Are you a victim of brokenness and despair? A broken man is a hopeless man, and a hopeless man is a very dangerous man. Many times, many of you young men that are listening come from homes that are very toxic and very dysfunctional. And because of that, many of you have deferred your power in many ways, to the point it's led over into your social life, and many times led over into your relationships. If you guys are dealing with mental health pathologies, conscious and unconscious, come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's important that you deal with your mental health in order to be a better person for yourself, your loved ones, and also your community. But because mental health is often stigmatized, many of you often suffer in silence. Don't be a victim in silence. And see me once again at kosherclinician@gmail.com. And I need you guys to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male. And male mental health is one of those elements that's paramount to the functioning of a man. Be well.
Like I work in finance. God bless, no, this not by chance. Don't dab me, you're not my man. Don't at me, you're not my man. Mama said don't buy it if you cannot buy it twice. I cop by the tools and I don't pump fake with the price. Always on the grind, I put in work with all my might. I know that he got me, not by sight. Yeah, 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 yeah. I skirt like bandits, I slide out landings. All black like that, man. Sip for sure though. Grinding from the grip, no shame, take a photo. Time to take a trip, we head north to the border. Say you feeling up, I'm my favorite type of hoarder. I got kids to feed, I got enemies, I got God's gift, so they envy me. Got some friends out in Memphis like I'm Aubrey. Got some friends fought for orange like some autumn leaves. Yeah, 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 yeah. I skirt I vanish, I slide out landish, beat your Benji, all black like Batman. Yeah, 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 yeah. I skirt I vanish, I slide out landish, beat your Benji, all black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman. All black like Batman.
Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah, yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Watch out for those who surround you, need no funny kind. You can't see what's on my brain, I live inside my mind. Out of space and out of sight, you need me in my line. Need no face, don't need no phonies, no, no, no. Need no snakes, no only homies, down for show. On go, go, go. Get a book and get the front end, we load up and roll, roll, roll. I got kids, yeah, I got staff, I make a little, need more, more, more. I sell records, you sell packs, not on my level, no, no, no. I'm a pop star, I'm a rock star, I'm a winner. Think I'm not hard, you smoke rock, hard waste, man, why you dumb? I'm with airline, we on airlines like we on the run. I'm with Tay, girls run up on me, they done. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah, yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my.
Ma jolie, oh ma jolie. Ah yeah, eh. Every time I come around you, baby girl, something doesn't feel the same. You said that I'm changing, but it's really you. I see how you play those games. Wifey type for a main man. A queen can make moves, a king can't. Snatch you up, now you taking. Gave you bricks, now you building a wall up, wall up. Lately you and I've been all love, all love. I don't know what's up with our love, our love. You forgetting all about us, oh. My jolie, oh my jolie. Where are you when I need you the most? You still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting. Girl, you got me. Called your bluffing, made you something. Now you talking. Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? Telling me to cool it off, cool it off. How can I cool it off, cool it off? My jolie, oh my jolie. My jolie, oh my jolie. You don't turn on me now. You don't get no time for me now, babe. Got him on a rebound, but it's only you that I like, babe. Tout ce que j'ai fait c'était pour toi. Sur le haut parle mais t'écoutes pas. Tu me vois crever mais tu bouges pas. Pourquoi? Whoa, yo, wall up, you can't even get the scores up. For us, I don't know what's up with our love. You forgetting all about us, My Jolie, oh my Jolie, where you been? When I need you the most, you still MIA. This is murder, heart is melting, girl you got me. This is more the bluff and need you something, now you talking. I call you bluff, telling me to cool it up, cool it up. How can I cool it up, cool it up? Telling me to cool it up, cool it up. How can I cool it up, cool it up? My Jolie, oh my Jolie. Got me. Called the bluff and made you something. Now you talking. Telling me to cool it up, cool it up. How can I cool it up, cool it up? Telling me to cool it up, cool it up. How can I cool it up, cool it up? Cool it up. I don't know how to cool it up. My Jolie, oh my Jolie.
I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I might rent the Lambo and go drive it like it's stolen. I've been living wild, I'm just going through the motions. Stumbling out the Uber, grabbed my hand, gave me a notion. Swimming in your water, but it feels just like the ocean. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind. All the time, ease my mind. I know that you're dangerous, I'm addicted to you. I was sipping more for 2 years straight to the face. Champagne belly bubble still won't go away. Last year my best man hit a stain with bad face. Now he's got a LB on the water's cold case. I wake up with pain sometime and never go away. Wonder why I bow down to my knees when I pray. In my city gritty, gotta keep it on your waist. Or you might be a victim, they'll find you DOA. I can't lie, I've really been addicted to you. All of my attention I've been giving to you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. Caught up in my feelings, I got feelings for you. On my mind, I can't lie. On my mind, I can't lie. Pull you down till you dry. Pull you down till you dry. All the time, ease my mind.